Chapter 201 Deep Sea Legend. On Mermaid Island, there has always been a legend. The legend goes like this. In the depths of that endless trench, there lives a mighty sea monster. It emits a pink gem-like glow that seduces people's minds. Lure them to the bottom of the sea. There is the dwelling place of the god of the sea, and the burial place of all greedy and sinful people. And that light is the guidance of God. Those who are greedy in their hearts will be punished by God and sentenced to eternal exile in the dark and deep sea. Those who are pure in mind will be sheltered by the god of the sea and will never be troubled by storms and tsunamis. This is just a legend made up by a boring Murloc brain. In fact, the sea monsters are a group of deep-water cats that inhabit the Fishman Island. That pink glow is what they use to lure their prey. Deep-water cats are terrible marine killers, and adult deep-water cats can fight sea kings alone. Among them, the talented ones can even hunt those super-large sea kings that are thousands of meters long. They love to eat fish. In their eyes, mermaid is also a kind of fish, with delicious taste and excellent taste. It is a rare delicacy. But the speed of the mermaid is the first in the sea, and even the deep-water cats that are as fast as flying fish can't catch up. So they often disguise themselves as luminous treasures and wait for the greedy mermaid to take the bait. Those mermaid poets who have seen the deep-water cat from a distance, but have not come into close contact with them, have made up romantic legends. Oh Tilda Carter, so you are so powerful. Enel was shocked. Although Carter's potential has been estimated, the fact that his racial talent is so powerful is still unexpected to Enel. Wow is expected of my sword cat. Roy held Carter's paw. Carter held his head high, like a victorious general. It likes to show its strength in front of Roy, showing that it has the strength to protect Roy. There is a kind of power that can make people crazy. There is a kind of power that can make people strong. There is a kind of power that can make people not afraid of any challenge. The name of this power is love. Carter, who has fallen in love, is fearless. If it is said, he used to be afraid of dark forests and terrifying beasts. So now, in front of Roy, it will never back down, even if it is a few kilometers of sea kings, it dares to meow and rush over to take a claw. But how did you meet it? This is a very rare race. It is said that there are only a few dozen in the entire world. Rayleigh asked. Didn't you say deepwater cats are mysterious? How do you know their numbers? Enel looked at Rayleigh. We also had a cat on the ship in the past. It became a good friend with the leader of the deepwater cat family at that time, so we chatted a lot. The leader's name is Ode Carter. He is a strong man who can hunt super-large sea kings. When I met the cat in the North Sea, it was very young. There must be some unavoidable reason. Enel heard the sob and looked at Carter. It was found that it was weeping. Tears and snot mixed down and dripped down on the plate, and I lost my appetite for fish. It cried very sadly. Sad like a cat that has gained 200 pounds. Oh the cat, yes my dad. You. Cat, what happened? The darkness on Enel couldn't stop pouring out. Carter is his life and death partner, his family. Carter's grief is filled with hatred, who probably killed his father. Then what Enel has to do is to make things clear, revenge. Whoever it is, must kill him. The blood debt must be repaid with blood. Find the guy who killed Carter's father and chop it up to feed the fish. The guy who can kill Carter's father is absolutely terrible. Enel may not be an opponent now, but one day, he will be able to do it. He has such confidence that one day he will be able to gain the power to turn everything into ashes. The dragon fruit gave him such growth potential. Endowed him with infinite possibilities. He is confident that one day he will be able to stand on the top of the world. Carter didn't answer Enel's words, just kept crying. Sorry for bringing up your partner's sadness, Riley apologized. It's okay, if you didn't mention it, I'm afraid I wouldn't know anything. Enel was already thinking about who killed Carter's father. Is it another deep-water cat? Probably. Enel's brain hole has spread to someone I know. There is a cat who seeks to usurp the throne and kills the original king. Then the prince narrowly escaped, and after the catastrophe, he finally cultivated a good skill, and then took his partner to kill him to take revenge. Finally crowned king. This fits the formula. Or another way. A certain lunatic swims into the deep sea to commit suicide, and then makes a scene. In order to stop him, Old Cart fought valiantly and was killed. This seems to be possible. As far as he knows, the only well-known powerhouse is that madman Kaido, who is likely to run into the deep sea and make trouble. If it is the first case, then it seems that I can't help much. Since he can't go into the sea to fight at all, Carter was the only one to rely on himself, and Enel was very distressed. If it is the second case, if Carter's father was killed by a strong man in the human world, then he can get involved. However, killing Kaido or someone of the same level is not easy. The atmosphere was dull, and Carter sobbed. Roy touched its head. Enel poured bottle by bottle of wine into his mouth. Riley finished the coding job neatly in just over an hour. Okay, the coding this time is the one I have the most confidence in. If you sail normally, it will never be broken. But be careful not to hit the rocks by the current, Riley reminded. As a pirate, he is famous all over the world and is undoubtedly successful. As a coding craftsman, he is also very dedicated in a serious and responsible attitude. This service, Neil gave a 5-star praise. He left with Carter after leaving a bag of Baileys. Carter has stopped crying, but there is still a strong depressing atmosphere around him. Sick and listless. Enel suddenly stopped, and blue veins appeared on his forehead. He was very upset to see Carter's decadent look. Lifting his left leg, he kicked Carter, who had his head down for some reason, and flew out. Boom. Carter, who was as fat as a ball, crashed into a nearby building like a cannonball. Sword cat. Roy shouted anxiously, "What are you doing? Enel. Don't get in the way." Enel glared at Roy, who was too frightened to speak. Chapter 202 Carter vs. Enel. Carter got up from the ruins, shook off the dust from his body, and looked at Enel angrily. "Visi, what are you doing? What do you look like when you're upset? You only cry and cry. I feel ashamed for you. Who are you showing this dead face to?" Carter. Enel's face was gloomy. "Bastard, you want to fight, don't you?" Carter's mood was instantly ignited. "Ah, it's you who hit me." "Exactly, I've always wanted to play against you too." "Why see." Carter's hands became pitch black, and he used the color of armed domineering. Black mist emerged from behind Enel, rising like smoke. Black bullet. The bullet-sized black sphere flew towards Carter at great speed. Carter blocked it with his armed claws. Boom. When the two came into contact, an explosion occurred. Is the armed color domineering? Carter instantly understood what was going on. Then rushed towards Enel. Black bullets. Catwalk pendulum. Carter swayed from side to side with a dexterity that was completely inconsistent with his body, avoiding one attack after another. Pussy punch. Kai wing shield. Enel did not dodge, but chose to face it head-on. He felt a strong force coming from his wings and was knocked back a few steps. He is now in the form of a dragon man, and his wings, tail, and scales have all grown out, and he is almost a humanoid dragon. But even if the dragon turned to this point, he could feel the huge pressure Carter brought him. As expected of a race that can rival the Sea Kings. The scaly and armed fist hit Carter in the head. Carter raised his fat paw to block it, and then the cat wagged its tail, knocking Enel out. Boom. Like a cannonball hitting the ground, it splattered a large piece of dust. Carter rushed in that direction. From the flying dust, a huge palm shrouded in shadows pressed Carter to the ground with unparalleled power. All Carter saw was a mass of dark shadows, but he knew that in this mass of dark shadows, it was Enel who was completely transformed into a dragon. Roar. A terrifying roar resounded throughout the Chambord Islands. People stopped what they were doing and looked in that direction. What's the matter? The roar of a beast. What kind of sound is that? Why does it make me feel creepy? In the naval base, Brigadier General Yuzimura helped his forehead helplessly. Really, why are there so many things today? Then he shouted, hurry up and prepare to attack. This is the movement made by Enel, that little brother is really restless. Shachi leaned against the bar. Young people really are full of energy. Rayleigh said to Shachi, Shachi, I went out, and I shouldn't be back for a while. Rayleigh waved at Shachi. Enel left a lot of money, and he wanted to go out for a casual walk. Enel changed back into human form and punched Carter in the face. Asshole, you bastard. Is your decadent look the cat I know? Don't make me look like I'm dying. The cat kicked Enel off his back with a kick, and then counterattacked. The cat's paw slammed his head into the dirt. Don't say it so lightly, you have no idea what I've been through. Carter couldn't help shaking as he recalled the scenes from his childhood. The huge figure that covered the sky and the sun seemed to be a moving mountain. A godlike mighty force. One roar can cause the seabed to shake, and one turnover can set off a monstrous tsunami. With each attack, the seabed shattered and the torrents rolled. The whole sea trembled and the whole world wailed. It is a demon shaped by nature, it is a terror bred by heaven and earth. That is the king of the deep sea, the invincible overlord. You don't even know how powerful that guy is. That kind of desperate power can't win at all. Enel smiled as she felt the pain in her face. Well, that's it. Ah ha 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 ha. What's so funny? Carter yelled angrily. I just think you're funny. Why do you think so much? If someone bullies you, beat me back. If I can't beat you, there's still me. If I can't do anything about it, then continue to become stronger. One day, we will be able to defeat you. Everything that stood in our way was reduced to ashes. I can't beat it now, but there is still a future. If you think you are weak, then try to become stronger. Become stronger. Don't cry like a woman, our front is not made by crying. Our future depends on us. The hands fought hard. Enel knocked Carter down with his head. Cat, do you remember when we first met? 6 years ago, when you followed me to the battlefield, you were still afraid of small bullets, of the dark forest, and of the beasts of the jungle. And now, are you still afraid of those things? Can they still harm you? Answer me, cat. Carter was silent, then shook his head. It doesn't even know how far it can grow. It left the clan when it was very young and lived alone. It does not have a clear understanding of its own strength and potential. After 6 years, what you feared in the past has become as inconspicuous as the dust. You are very strong, cat, and you will become stronger. So, there is nothing to fear, and finally one day, we stand on the top of this world and live as we want. All strong enemies and difficulties are just our stepping stones. Carter was no longer confused and no longer crying. Its eyes have firmed up and become stronger. If someone bullies it, then fight back. There is nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be afraid of. Carter wiped his tears, and then a hungry tiger no, the evil cat pounced on Enel and hugged him tightly. Why see, I love you to death. Wait stay away from me, the snot is about to fall. Roy looked at the pair with an unhappy expression. Sword cat, shouldn't you come and hug me first? Forget it, Carter is fine, it's more important than anything. Roy ran over, John Mao, I want to hug too. Carter kicked Enel away and picked up Roy. Enel. Follow up, don't let the criminals get away. If you let the pirates run away again and again, then our navy's face will be disgraced. Yuzimula shouted. Cut, these idiots from the navy are here to send people off again. If you want to arrest me, you have to use a few lieutenant generals. Enel curled his lips, speechless at the fact that the navy often misestimates the strength of both the enemy and the enemy. How did they maintain such a force when they often do things like this? No matter how you send it, it can't be delivered. Chapter 203 Battlefield Site. The turbulent sea tide came in enthusiastically, and the howling wind pushed the water waves forward. The sky was dark, and it seemed that a large cloud of ink was about to pour out of the sky. After escaping the navy, Egna left the Chambord Islands, this time on his most dangerous journey into the great waterways. For him, the altitude above 10,000 meters is just a time to soar. With the ability to fly, he is not afraid of the sky at all. But the deep sea below 10,000 meters is a realm that he cannot reach. Hey, cat, it's all up to you this time, don't let me drop the chain. Carter nodded, his two most important lives were now in his own hands, feeling the weight on his shoulders. Anil originally wanted Roy to wait with Shachi, but he didn't want to, and in the end he had to follow him. Open the metal hatch and squeeze into the bubble. He watched the dark waves roll in from the sky, and a few seabirds fluttered in the wind. The ice waves and snow waves churned, making an earth-shattering roar. In this mighty momentum, Enel forgot his worries about the unknown sea and turned into a sky-high pride. Ahahaha then, set sail. Carter no longer towed the pod. The lead-grey metal ball wrapped in jelly-like bubbles slowly sank. The film has the effect of reducing the pressure, and the buoyancy of the water is generated by the pressure difference between the upper and lower sides. After the film is attached, the pressure is reduced, the buoyancy is also reduced, and the diving cabin naturally sinks. Enel did not close the hatch, the coating would block the seawater. His line of sight can penetrate this transparent coating to observe the surrounding scene. Water, all water. In blue water, there is nothing. There was only one shadow above, Carter pulling the chain linking the pod. It continued to sink, the light became less and less, and the surroundings dimmed. Enel's eyes were crimson, and he could see in the dark. Even the darkness without a trace of light could not block his gaze. Because he himself is the sustenance of darkness. Carter's eyes also glowed green, and the deep sea was its home. The sight is only a supplement, and it is its three sensitive whiskers that really make it perceive the surrounding situation. It can feel the slightest changes in the water flow, and everything around it is displayed in its mind like a three-dimensional image. In the sea, the range of perception brought to it by its instinct even surpassed its domineering arrogance. Enel felt that the speed had increased a lot. Carter rides a current. Hey, cat, are you alright? Don't take it off. Don't worry, YC, you won't make a mistake. I know everything here, because this is my hometown. Carter's expression became solemn. At this time, it was like a devout pilgrim who was on a pilgrimage. Carter is unfamiliar and familiar with this hometown after a long absence. Those clansmen from that year have disappeared, and even the terrain has undergone tremendous changes. YC, I want to go to a place first. Feeling that Carter's mood was a little lower, Enel didn't say more, just nodded. Carter takes Enel to an underwater canyon. The towering cliffs are like huge blades that split the ocean, and they are domineering. On that cliff, there are ravines, as if they were caught by something. Enel felt that this ravine was very similar to the marks made by his dragon claws and flying blades, but the size could not be compared at all. Carter turned around several times, as if looking for something. Suddenly, a bright, pink light illuminated the entire canyon. Enel and Roy squinted their eyes adapted to the darkness were flashed by the sudden strong light, and they felt dizzy. This is what Carter put out. When Enel first met Carter, it was still out of control, and it was as conspicuous as a light bulb at night. Later it gradually learned to control this and never saw it again. After a lapse of many years, I used it again, but I didn't expect it to be so bright. If it used to be a candle, it is now an incandescent lamp. In the absence of light, all Enel could see was a silhouette. And now, it's clear. The landscape of the entire canyon is unobstructed. Broken rocks, scary scratches, huge tooth marks. This canyon was created by a huge creature. The original mountain range was cut off from it. It was as if someone had been splitting vertically down the mountain with an axe. Here is a battlefield. The deep water cat family, a battlefield with a huge creature. Below them, in the thin sand, something was half exposed, faintly shining with silver light. Carter bit the chain with his teeth and put his hands on his waist, in a turtle-style qigong posture. Current cat rush. Boom. A huge current swept through, sweeping away the sediment on the seabed, revealing the true face of the buried object. This is a huge scale that glows green and white, with a metallic texture, with a width of dozens of meters. The scales are neatly cut in two from the center. Carter seemed to have found something, swam to the side quickly, dug in the soil, and dug out a boulder with only a corner exposed. It pulled something stuck on the boulder and looked at it blankly, a little lost. Then swam to the side of the diving cabin. "Why see, help me hold this, a very important thing." Only then did Neil discover the true face of this thing. This is a cat's paw, twice the size of Carter's paw. Enel didn't ask what it was, and he could already guess it from Carter's expression. Carter is sad, but not decadent. There was a determined look in his eyes. He took the paw. "Carter can't open the backpack space in the sea, otherwise the sea will pour in." "How big is that thing?" Enel asked. "It's very big. When its head is under the sea, its tail can stick out a lot. When it turns its body, it can even set off a tsunami." Enel was silent. This kind of guy is definitely Uzo's level. Even among the Sea Kings, there are very few people of this size. Carter wants revenge, which is very difficult. It is simply impossible to find a mysterious sea monster in the vast sea. And even if they were found, according to the current strength of Enel and Carter, they would not be able to compete with them. Sea King Enel suddenly thought of a good idea and was able to find it easily. However, the strength is a flaw. This kind of guy, I am afraid that they will have to fight for a long time before they can be killed. "Cat, I know how to find that guy, but we're not rivals yet, so be patient for now." "Why see, don't worry, I won't be impulsive. Even if I see it now, I will definitely run away." Carter learned Neil's wretched development style very thoroughly. "Do you know why it attacked you?" Enel asked. "If it's hunting, it won't target deepwater cats. Because the largest deepwater cat is only 10 meters in size, it is simply an ant-like existence in front of it. And the strength of the deep-water cat is not weak. Judging from the broken scales all over the ground, the Sea King has also suffered a lot of injuries. Just for hunting, it's not worth it at all." "I don't know, it appeared suddenly from the other side of the mountain wall 18 years ago." Chapter 204 Arrive at Fishman Island. "Wow, Enel screamed. "Carter, tap the membrane will break." Roy screamed. Carter was dragging the pod hard when they were drawn into a vortex as they passed a volcano. It exerted the strength of sucking, biting the chain, paddling with its 4 short legs, paddling desperately. The film is pulled into an oval shape by tension, and it looks like it will break at any time. Seeing that the situation was not good, Enel quickly closed the diving hatch. With a snap, the bubble burst. The surrounding water pressure squeezed, and the water pressure at a depth of 7,000 meters was enough to crush the diving cabin made of ordinary alloy in an instant. At that critical moment, the darkness enveloped the entire diving cabin with a domineering look of armed color. The diving cabin creaked, but it resisted the force stubbornly. "Carter, hurry up and go to Mermaid Island." Using the armed color to cover the entire diving cabin is also not a light consumption to Enel. Moreover, Neil's armament color is used at any time, and it is extremely stamina. "Hey, Enel, do you have a pen and paper?" Roy asked. "Huh, what do you want these for?" "Writing a suicide note. I still have a lot to say to John Mao." "How could I bring something like that? Also, it doesn't have to be dead, it just depends on whether Carter can get to Mermaid Island before I run out of energy." According to Carter's speed, there is a lot of hope, Enel said. "Really? Of course, have confidence in Carter." "Well, but in case I still want to write a suicide note," Roy said. It went on. "If I die, tell Carter, don't think about me. Find another beautiful roe deer for yourself and live your life." "Enel, why is it a roe deer and not a cat?" Don't all cats like roe deer?" Roy was stupid. Enel. He didn't know how Roy came to this conclusion. Hey, cross-racial romances are weird. Carter finally got out of the vortex after some effort. It flew towards Mermaid Island as if it were on a highway. It feels so hot. Roy stuck out his tongue. Enel also felt that the temperature of the sea was getting higher and higher, as if it was being heated. Hey, that's not good. But he couldn't do anything, he could only try his best to stay armed. Carter looked dignified as if a cat's butt had been set on fire. It knows exactly what the rising water temperature means, and the childhood memories are awakened again. Gollum gollum. Bubbles bubbled up from the bottom of the sea. These small bubbles will continue to grow in volume under the continuous reduction of water pressure. When they approach the sea surface, they will form huge bubbles directly tens of meters. You can even tip the boat over. A red light appeared in the dark seabed, followed by a deafening sound. Boom! Undersea volcano erupted. Hot lava jets swept over everything. Such is the flow of molten steel, it is spectacular, and a magma waterfall is formed. The volcano seemed to be covered with a gorgeous coat, and a dazzling golden flower burst out from the crater, flashing constantly on the dark seabed. The magma steamed the seawater and cooled down quickly. The black wrinkled surface formed by the solidification of volcanic lava is like a twisted thick rope. Carter got rid of the huge vortex that was rolled up by the difference in water temperature. Jumped into a deeper trench. An abyss with a depth of 10,000 meters, the bottom of a trench. The darkness is gone, and the huge sun tree sends sunlight here. The change of day and night is formed, which the locals call the bounty of the sun. The huge Mermaid Island exists quietly in this quiet and beautiful seabed. Mermaid Island is surrounded by a huge double-layer spherical bubble shield with an air layer between the two shields. It is almost impossible for ordinary pirates to pass through this compartment. If those ships that were coated on the Chambord Islands tried to force their way through the bubble shield, the shield would peel off the coating. Some ships will also fall to the ground in the middle air layer. Even if it successfully broke through the shield, the invading human ship would be washed away by the seawater in the shield. Therefore, they can only choose to go through the main entrance. Foreigners must go through immigration inspection, otherwise they will be arrested by the Sea King Army of the Dragon Palace Kingdom. Carter caught a glimpse of a huge sailboat not far away being besieged by 3 sea beasts. The bow is a mouse head with a crown, and 5 dots connected by straight lines are drawn on the sails, representing the 4 seas and the Great Root. This is the symbol of the world government. The people on the boat also have a few brushes. In this deep sea, they can temporarily resist the attacks of sea beasts, but they obviously won't last long. It didn't care, and the top priority now is to take Enel to Mermaid Island. It didn't know what the main entrance was, and rushed directly towards the huge bubble. Carter, like a sharp arrow, swooped straight through the first layer of shield. Visi. Understood. Base. A slash directly cut the diving cabin in half. The dragon-shaped Aenir grabbed Carter and Roy and flew over the second shield and rushed into the sea water inside the Mermaid Island. Finally Carter took him and Roy to the land of Mermaid Island. Roy gasped heavily, the only one of the 3 who couldn't breathe in the water. Wow, it's finally here. Mermaid Island. Enel looked left and right curiously. Before the record pointer is stored, he plans to find the beautiful mermaid sister to play happily. Carter sniffed the air in the Mermaid Island, and his face was intoxicated. It smelled the fragrance of fish. The saliva could not stop flowing. Here it's just heaven. Look, it's human. Yes, it's human. Looks so brutal. Stay away from him, or you might be attacked. The passing mermaid pointed at Enel. Damn, these fish heads are too rude. Does this treat Lao Su as a monkey? How dare you say it so blatantly, thinking that my ears are not good enough to hear. Enel had the urge to smash the heads of these murlocs. But considering that this is 10,000 meters deep in the sea, it would be very unfavorable for him if something really happened. He endured it. Is this a human? It's so strange. He doesn't have a tail. A little mermaid girl asked her mother. Humans are such strange creatures. Don't get close, they are very ferocious, be careful to be eaten, said the female murloc. Do I look murderous? Enel asked Roy, pointing to himself. Roy nodded honestly. Enel. It's ugly, or all human beings so ugly? A harsh voice reached Enel's ears. No, some human beings are beautiful, this is a special case. Veins appeared on Enel's forehead. Chapter 205 Conflict. Murlocs and mermen don't have a good relationship with humans. In the past, they were even classified as fish, and it was not until 200 years ago that Fishman Island established diplomatic relations with the world government and the king of Fishman Island was allowed to participate in the World Conference, and the relationship improved. The whole world stops persecuting the Murlocs and mermen. However, racism still exists. Because of the high price, people often catch mermaids and sell them as slaves. 5 years ago, fisherman adventurer Fisher Tiger broke into the holy land of Mary Joa, wreaking havoc and freeing a large number of slaves. Considered a hero by the entire Murlocs. But the hero was betrayed for helping a human slave return home, was ambushed, and died at the hands of the Navy. It made them even more disgusted with human beings. Enel, who has grudges and grievances from these races, doesn't care. He has no concept of race at all, no matter whether it is human, cat or mermaid, there are only differences between himself, enemies and passers-by. The rest doesn't matter. But, now he's being mocked. Don't judge me with your aesthetics. Enel was furious. Differences between races do exist. For example, aesthetics is an example. Differences in ideas are sometimes more difficult to overcome than differences in appearance. Although Enel can't be said to be unparalleled in beauty, he's definitely not ugly either. A little dark skin, bangs hanging to the eyebrows, with a little blue lines at the corners of the eyes. The muscles are slender and well-proportioned, like a leopard. He has spoken. Speaking. Speak up. Enel, what's so strange about a goddamn man talking? It's strange for you fish to talk about humans. He just said that we are fish, this hateful human. Bastard, is this the voice of human beings? Damn, teach him a lesson. The mermaids gathered around with malicious intent. Enel said they were fish, which angered them. Let them sound the various persecution and discrimination of the fish people in the past. Hey, Enel raised his brows. Although he didn't want to do anything, he would never show mercy if they dared to do it. Unless they have the courage to destroy the entire island and let the seawater in. Otherwise, there would be no threat to Enel. But will they do it? Obviously not. There is sunshine here, in the dark sea bottom, this is their last home. As long as Enel doesn't drive them to a dead end, it's impossible for them to give up on Mermaid Island. The mermaid family, they can only survive in the sea, only in the vast and boundless sea, and live in the dark and boundless bottom of the sea. They would gather on Mermaid Island because of the weak sunlight and air. Brighter sunshine on land and a wider sky are elusive for mermaids. Without the protection of the sea, the fish people have no advantage in the face of a large number of malicious humans. They can't leave the sea. So until they are desperate, they will never give up on Mermaid Island. Teach him, this outspoken human being dares to call us fish. Kill him. Even the human-friendly Murlocs would be uncomfortable hearing Enel's words. Those who are hostile to human beings can't help but do it. Black bullet. Boom. Wrapped in a domineering dark ball, it exploded in front of a merman who rushed up. Blast his chest until it's bloody. How dare you do it? Humans. I'll show you some color. Enel stretched out his index finger in a pistol shape. Black bullets. Bang bang bang. After a few mermen fell, the rest hesitated. Creatures have the instinct to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages, and they will not despise their own lives. Get out of the way. Several tall, fierce-looking mermaids squeezed over. Great, it's the Sun Pirates. On Mermaid Island, the Sun Pirates are the pride of all of them. It seems that there are a few guys who seem to have some strength, but it's still the 5 scumbags. Human, are you an illegal immigrant? They didn't do anything as soon as they came up, but asked. The speaker was a long-bearded man with sharp teeth, a ponytail tied to the sky, and the word, 1TC, tattooed on his left arm. He is wearing a vest with the Sun Pirates logo on the left flank. This is the current deputy leader of the Sun Pirates, Aladdin. Enel always felt a little familiar when looking at the brown Murloc. But forgot who it was. A guy who could make him look familiar. Enel realized that he might have met a character from the original book. But I'm not impressed, so I guess it's a supporting role in the corner. Illegal entry. Enel tilted his head with a puzzled look on his face. Because the Straw Hats came in a similar way in the comics, Enel regarded this as a standard entry method. You didn't come in through the front door, did you? Yes, we rushed in directly through the bubble. Why, there is still a main entrance here. Aladdin. Why are you talking nonsense with him? Kill him. This guy dares to hurt our compatriots, and we can't forgive him. Shut up. If you kill humans at will, it will only expand the conflict. What we want is peace, not endless killing and fighting. Aladdin stopped him. He is inclined towards Jinping's point of view. Kill me. Try it if you can, you stupid fish. Enel looked at him defiantly. Bastard, what did you say? Don't be impulsive. Aladdin reached out to stop him. If possible, we hope for a peaceful settlement. Come with us to the king. Huh, king. Of course, Mermaid Island generally does not exclude humans from entering. If someone applies to enter, they can basically get permission. Because this is the only way for most pirates to go to the New World, most of the people who come and go here are pirates. We don't want to cause too much conflict. Just sign a pledge at the entrance that you won't cause trouble in Mermaid Island. However, if someone enters illegally, we can't sit idly by. This is our country, and it is necessary for us to maintain the security and stability of this country. If someone dares to make trouble, we will not sit still. Illegal immigrants need to be examined, and then go to see the king, and they can usually be pardoned. Aladdin explained. His attitude was still friendly. But you're here to do something to our compatriots, and that has to be explained. We're not easy to bully. Enel complained. Aren't you pirates? How come you are working as a kingdom guard? This is taking someone else's job. Maintaining the safety of Mermaid Island is the responsibility of all of us. This is also the site of our Sun Pirates. If you don't cooperate, we won't be afraid to fight. Then let's fight. Among the pirates, of course, we must greet each other with fists. Darkness covered Enel's arm. Chapter 206 Odahime and Jinpei. You all, stop me. A woman's voice came. Huh. Enel looked at the sound. A woman with long wavy golden hair, blue eyes, orange hair accessories, and a long robe with a fish scale pattern was rushing at a fast speed. Agi Niangnyang, it's too dangerous, come back quickly. The catfish mermaid Zuo minister was sweating profusely, and quickly followed behind her, followed by a group of guards wearing seahorse-shaped helmets. Please don't do it. Odahime opened her arms between Aladdin and Enel. Huh. Wouldn't it be nice for everyone to sit down and talk peacefully? Why fight? Otoji's face was full of sincerity. But princess, this man has attacked our countrymen. We can't let him go. Ahaha, it seems that you guys did it first, right? I don't mind having a good talk with you, but as soon as a group of people saw me, they talked a lot and wanted to do it, so I could only fight back. Enel shrugged. It's not because you said we were fish. It's not that you fishheads call me ugly. Enel yelled. Enough. Stop arguing, just let it pass, and quickly send all the injured to the hospital. That guy didn't kill him. A large whale shark man with a lightning-like scar on the corner of his left eye, with 2 large teeth in his lower jaw, walked slowly from a distance. Jinpei at this time is not like the generous and calm old man Luffy met, but more like a big brother in the underworld. Boss Jinbei. The visitor is one of the 7 Wuhai under the king, and the seaman is very flat. Although Otoji has a lot of prestige among mermaids, she has no strength after all. In front of the angry Murlocs, she could do nothing but plead. Enel didn't even take her seriously. But Shippen is different. Jinpei, who possesses extremely powerful force, is equally respected as Ottoheim, but he has more majesty than Ottoheim. Enel couldn't ignore him either. In fact, the reason why Anil didn't dare to be too chaotic was that he had just killed the few murlocs who attacked him. If it is on the shore, he has no scruples at all. But this is the sea, and if Jinbei attacked him in the sea as he left Mermaid Island, it would be troublesome. The fighting tends to ease. Jinbei, do you want to be my partner? Enel asked. What's your purpose? We, Shibukai, are also obliged to cooperate with the navy to fight against pirates. If you dare to mess around, I don't mind letting you be buried under the sea forever. Jinbei stared at Enel. Ahahaha, don't be so murderous, I don't have any prejudice against you mermaids, and I don't discriminate. If possible, let's get along well. I'm just fighting back against the guy who is ready to attack me. However, in order to minimize the trouble, let some unsightly guys not bother me. Let's say hello a little Jinbei. Darkness haunts Enel's feet. Dragon feet shaved. Mermaid karate. Boom. The confrontation between the two caused a gust of wind. Like thunder. Gravel rubble splashes. The surrounding murlocs covered their arms in front of their eyes and opened their eyes with difficulty. Good, so strong. The murloc who had just planned to attack Enel was afraid for a while. You bastard. Jinbei clenched his fists. Well, I stopped fighting. They said I was just saying hello. Enel shook his hands in front of him. Jinbei was able to sense Enel's power through his sight, but the rest of the murlocs couldn't. In order for those who are hostile to humans to weigh themselves before provoking him, Enel flexed his muscles a little. You said you didn't want to cause trouble, so just take care of the cat next to you. Jinbei looked at Carter warily. He could feel Carter's strength and deep malice. Huh, cat. Enel looked at Carter. It was found that the cargo was flying down 3,000 feet. Why, see a lot of fish. Which one should I eat? Carter was blinded by the hordes of prey. Hey wait, cat, you have to restrain yourself, these can't be eaten. Why, see, what do I want? Carter looked at Enel pitifully. Stupid cat, you really can't eat it. Otherwise you'll be beaten. Enel patted it on the head, then whispered close to its ear. If you really want to eat it, you have to wait until later, not now, that fat man. Murlocs are amazing. Carter glanced at Jinping. In fact, this is what it wants to eat most. It looks delicious and must be quite chewy. Queen Mother, a huge mermaid rushed over here. From the looks of it, she was still a little girl. White Star, it's dangerous, don't go there. When Carter saw Bai Xing, his eyes were straight. Involuntarily rushed towards it. Wow, cat, calm down, you have to restrain yourself. Enel pulled its tail. Carter knocked Enel away with a flick of his tail. Only then did he realize that Carter was abnormal, it was out of control. Dragon feet shaved. The attack sent Carter flying. This attack power can't cause any effective damage to it at all, and the tough fur is like armor. The mermaids also entered the highest alert state. Hey, take her away quickly. The cat doesn't know why, but she lost control when she saw her. Enel pointed at the White Star and shouted at the fish people. Could this be a deep water cat? Otoji's pupils shrank, showing a panicked look. As a member of the royal family of the Murlocs, she also knows a little bit about this terrible race that lives near Murloc Island. Everyone, get out of here now. Don't be stunned, hurry up. The chaotic footsteps sounded, and the fish people ran towards the distance. His Royal Highness, hurry to a safe place, just leave it to me. Jinbei looked serious. I see, Jinbei, you have to be careful. Carter shook his head and got up from the ground. Meow, the cry was loud and loud, like a ghostly cry, making Jinping feel horrified when he heard it. What kind of species is this? Jinbei asked Enel with cold sweat on his forehead. Deepwater cats, it is said that they like to eat fish. Enel replied. How dare you bring such a dangerous guy to Murloc Island? I don't know either. It was clearly said before. Although the other Murlocs also had the intention of attacking, they were able to restrain themselves. However, when she saw the big Murloc girl, she went mad. Enel already knew that it was Shirahoshi, but was careful not to say her name. The last time in the water capital, he was entangled by Rob Lukey because of this, and he paid great attention to it. Some things, try to pretend not to know. Chapter 207 Black and Bright Flames. At this time, Bai Xing has not yet exposed her power as a Sea King. Jinbei was also at a loss when he saw Carter like this. In his eyes, Bai Xing was just a little bigger mermaid kid, no different. Is it because the body is big, the age is young, and the meat is good and delicious? Enel had some guesses in his heart. Carter charged with a ball in his arms. Cat bomb chariot. Mermaid karate 4000 watts. Go away. I won't allow anyone else to do anything to my partner. Enel kicked the defenseless Jinping away. Kai winged shield. Under Carter's impact, Enel stepped back and made 2 marks on the ground with both feet. Stupid cat, wake me up. Dark Dragon's iron fist. Carter took the blow with his chubby belly. Enel felt as if he had hit a trampoline. Carter's stomach kicked him off. He turned in the air and spread his wings to fly into the sky. Damn it, you 2 bastards, are you trying to mess up Mermaid Island? Jinbei cursed. Ahahaha, I'm sorry, I'll compensate for the loss. Jinbei, just watch from the sidelines, I'll settle the stupid cat as soon as possible. Enel smiled awkwardly. Then he looked solemn. The darkness expanded a bit, and Enel, who was surrounded by darkness, floated in the air like a black sun. All the light close to him was swallowed up, and the sky dimmed a little. Jinbei looked up at Enel, and he felt a strong threat from above. The irrational Carter also instinctively stepped back a distance, watching the darkness vigilantly. Black brilliant flame. The darkness condensed, forming the shape of a giant dragon. There are no claws, just a head, body, wings, and tail. At this moment, as if it were dusk, the entire sky darkened. All the light was swallowed up, and everything seemed to sink. Look at the sky. The light is gone. The mermaids looked at the sky in despair. What's the matter? Odahime rushed towards the battlefield. Eiji Niangyang, where are you going? Dangerous. No, absolutely not. This island cannot lose its light anymore. If even this last shelter is taken, what will be the fate of the mermaids, the fate of this island? Is it only possible to wander forever in the dark seabed, still living on the coast in fear, worrying about the human beings that may come at any time? Living in fear and anxiety all day long. Before they and humans have reached an understanding, Mermaid Island is indispensable. Otoji didn't know whether this dark and lightless situation was temporary or would continue forever, but even if it was only a slight possibility, she would try to stop it. The dragon, which was completely condensed by darkness, charged towards Carter with a huge amount of armed arrogance and unparalleled power. Enel gasped a little. This move consumed a lot of his stamina. The darkness on his body has also become very sparse, like a raging flame, turning into a little bit of flame. Carter looked at the black dragon rushing towards him, ready to fight, armed with all his arms, with 2 front claws in front of him. Boom! The ground trembled, and a large crater was blown out where the impact occurred. Although this was Enel's strongest attack in his humanoid state, he knew that it wouldn't cause much damage to Carter. The defensive power with the armed color is even higher than that of him in the half-dragon form. Darkness surged up again, covering him. Enel transformed into a giant dragon, with the wings stretched and the tail swung. After locking Carter's position from the smoke and dust, he dived down. Dragon Starfall Strike. This is just the opposite of the dark water sucking itself in the direction of the pair. It uses the opponent as the center of gravity, attracts itself to the opponent, and then adds the power falling from the sky to hit the opponent like a meteor. This move is almost unavoidable, because the gravity of the darkness locks on the opponent, so Enel's direction will also move with the opponent's movement. Like a tracking missile. Fully armed, he rushed towards Carter. Boom! The 2 heads collided. Carter's head bulged with a big bag, rolled his eyes and fainted, his feet turned upside down. Enel shook his dizzy head and stood up. This was a Lozalo's move, depending on whose defense was high and whose vitality was more tenacious. The darkness is gone, and the sun shines again. Mermaid Island has regained its light. The panic stopped. Enel tied Carter with an arm-thick chain. Hey, do you know how much panic was caused on Mermaid Island just now? Jinbei said. Ahahaha, it's these mermaids who are too bad at heart. I don't blame me for that. Enel refused to admit the damage that was not directly caused by him. Who are you? You shouldn't be an unknown person with such power, right? Are all the new pirate stars already at this level? Jinping was deeply worried. The future of Mermaid Island does not seem bright. This kind of level doesn't need to be much. If 2 or 3 make a scene on Mermaid Island, I am afraid that the entire Mermaid Island will become a ruin. Don't look at me like this, I've been in this business for a while. Let me introduce myself. My name is Enel Viserys Leforwater. I'm a pirate. Neil took out his wanted notice from 6 years ago. This is my buddy Carter, and Carter's friend Roy. We don't mean anything, we just want to go to the New World. No mess on Mermaid Island. Jinbei said in his heart that you've already messed up enough. Having seen Neil's strength, he did not want to cause more troubles. It would not benefit them to fight Neil's death on the Fishman Island, and unnecessary battles would only increase casualties. So he said, what happened just now will not be investigated. You said you would compensate for the damage to the house caused here. Of course. Then this is the end of the matter. I believe the king will make the same judgment as me. Also, take care of that cat, and don't let it get out of control. Jinbei urged. Jinbei walked in the direction of Ryugu Castle, and he wanted to report this to Neptune. He also believes that Neil will not mess up, because this is 10,000 meters under the sea. The constraints on human beings are too great, and being an enemy of the Sun Pirates in such a place is simply courting death. Enel is not the type of person who can't see clearly. Enel had written down the characteristics of Shirahoshi's life energy, and swept across the island with his knowledge, and dragged Carter, who was unconscious, towards her. Roy quickly followed. Bai Xing is a very important character, and the ancient weapon Poseidon must be touched no matter what. Enel is far more interested in the Sea King than the battleship Hades. Chapter 208 Enel who wants to get married. In the words of Hades, even if the blueprint was obtained, it would take a lot of manpower and material resources to create it. And it also requires excellent shipbuilders. Considering that the drawing was left over 800 years ago, some of the annotations should be in ancient characters, so a Robin is needed. Enel was too lazy to spend that time. What he needs is not domination, but the freedom to do whatever he wants. He also doesn't need this kind of strategic weapon to deter other forces. What he needs is enough strength to fight against the top powerhouses such as generals and 4 emperors. With the energy to create Hades, he might as well use it to improve his strength. But Neptune Poseidon is different, this is ready-made, and can manipulate Neptune. Enel needs life energy, and Neptunes are the best prey. Although the quality of life force of most Sea Kings is not high, they are huge. In fact, he has been fighting the idea of the Sea Kings in the Windless Belt for a long time, but his strength is not enough, so he cannot go to the Windless Belt map to open up Wasteland. If the White Star can be abducted into his hands, then these are not problems. Now he has another reason, that is, Sea King can help him find the Super Sea King that attacked the Carter group. But it's a bit difficult to kidnap Shirahoshi. It's especially that Otahime can listen to all things and feel the good and evil in other people's hearts. That is to say, you can't approach Shirahoshi with malice. Enel felt a little difficult. Does this count as malicious? Enel has no ill will towards Shirahoshi. I don't have any thoughts of hurting her, and I don't want to do anything to Mermaid Island. It should be no problem. Hey, wake up, stupid cat, wake up. Enel slapped Carter hard. Huh, why see, Carter woke up, what's the matter? What's the matter, don't you remember? Enel rolled his eyes. Carter thought for a while, then yelled at Enel, bastard, you actually stopped me from catching fish. Roy. Enel didn't expect this guy to remember what happened just now. Asked, "What happened to you just now?" Carter said, "I don't know either, I just feel that she is very fragrant and I can't help but want to eat her." Bai Xing's body fragrance made Carter addicted. Let it go crazy, let it go mad. At the moment when he smelled the white star, Carter felt that his soul had been sublimated, as if he had seen heaven. Its expression is clearly like taking a bite and dying with no regrets. Enel had just chatted with Jinpei and asked him what happened in Fishman Island in the 18th year. Jinpei said that was when Otahime was pregnant with Shirahoshi. Shirahoshi is now 6 years old. 2 years pregnant mermaid's menstrual cycle. Enel doesn't understand. But it's not surprising, Ace can still stay in Luju's belly for 3 years. Enel felt as if he had discovered the truth. No wonder that supergiant Sea King is going to attack the deep water cat group. If the Carter family is of the same virtue, then Bai Xing is estimated to be more fortunate. Think of a group of deepwater cats with fierce eyes and drooling mouths killing the mermaid island in a mighty manner. Each one is like a mad Carter. The shrill cry echoed in the sea, like the howl of a ghost. That scene was just horrifying. It's even scarier than a wave of zombies in Resident Evil. That Sea King may feel that the Sea King is about to be born, so let's eliminate all dangers in advance. Stupid cat, looking for your space, is there an extra-large ring or necklace or something? Ah, Vessie, what are you doing? Hurry up and find it. I'm going to confess no, I'm going to propose. Meow. Carter looked puzzled. Don't bully me, a cat who doesn't understand you humans. Who are you looking for in the big sea to propose? Anyway, look for it. Got it, you're the boss, you have the final say, if you want to find me, you will find it. Carter glanced at the space in his backpack for a long time, and finally turned from the gold pile to an oversized crown with a diameter of 1 meter. It is filled with gorgeous gems, and in the very center of the crown, there is a diamond the size of a fist. Is this okay? Okay, anyway, gifts and other things are secondary, as long as the face is gone. The key is myself. I will definitely use my first-class talent, my gentleman's demeanor, to impress her girl's heart. Enel took off his t-shirt and windbreaker and put on a suit with a thunder intimidation. The bow tie is not big or small, and it is matched with a blue and white shirt. He looks like a businessman. The long bangs are neatly combed back, fixed with hairspray, and shiny. Gone is the messy hedgehog haircut, replaced by a well-tended hedgehog. He also changed a pair of leather shoes, brand new and shiny. Can smell the faint smell of shoe polish. Roy glanced, then nodded, and said, "This is a gentleman." It's been researching fashion recently, and fashion magazines fill its rooms. Very vocal. Enel felt that it was not enough, and he should prepare something more. After thinking about it, there is indeed something that should be prepared, which is the proof of your own throne. It is best to submit a credential when proposing to show your solemnity. But that thing has to go to the New World to get it. Moreover, the throne that he has won by force may not necessarily be recognized by the world government. The goal of his next stage is not to be a wild king, but to integrate into the huge organization of the world government. In this way, the obstacles from the government are reduced. He needs time to develop, and everything needs to be patiently waited before he has no strength to confront the 4 emperors head-on. Although his favorite thing to do is solve problems with his fists. But if the fist can't solve it, it can only use the brain. He's not stupid, he's just too lazy to think about it. But there's only so much you can do now, so act. Give me a white horse, I'm going to propose to my princess. There is no white horse, but there is one stupid cat. But sit Carter over there. In terms of its combat power, it is full of force. But in terms of its shape, it's simply a blast. Enel walked in one direction with the crown in one hand and the rose in the other. Why see, where are you going? Carter asked. Go and propose. Wait for me, I'll go too. No, don't come with you. Enel looked disgusted. I want to see it. What does the girl that way she likes look like? I'm afraid you'll make trouble, so don't follow me. Anil shook his head at him. Don't worry, I won't. Really? Really, Carter said with a firm conviction. You promise? I promise. You swear? I swear. Anil was still very distrustful of Carter's assurances. Chapter 209 Marry Me White Star. When Carter followed Anil to the vicinity of Shirogane again, his eyes lit up. This time it didn't lose its mind, but it was still restless. She was eager to try, and wanted to throw her to the ground immediately. Anil was paying close attention to Carter's state, and he planned to give it a slap in the head at any time. YC, shall we go fishing? Carter wanted to rush up. Anil hooked its head with the crown and pulled it back. Put away your eyes and saliva, the object of my marriage proposal is the one you give me peace of mind. Anil looked at Shiroshin and said. Meow. Carter's eyes widened. YC, you fell in love with a fish. Can you fall in love with a roe deer and I can't fall in love with a fish? Said Anil. Carter endure, all endure. This is the future sister-in-law, can't eat. But I still want to eat it. No, you can't have a bad heart with your sister-in-law. But it smells so good. At this moment, Carter's expression changed countless times in an instant, and he could make an expression pack. The cat's face was full of confusion. YC discuss something with you. Huh. Let me lick her, really, I'll lick her. I'll lick her or not. Anil kicked the fanciful Carter away. Are you licking or biting her? I believe in you, asshole. But she's still just a little girl. The death penalty is the highest after 3 years. No, you probably will be sentenced to death. Roy and Carter have been with Anil for so long, and they are fully capable of complaining. Then get married first, and I can wait. But boss, she's much bigger than you. Carter got up, trying to convince Anil to change his mind. That's called atmosphere, and I don't hate women with huge bodies. But YC, you are a toothpick to her. You won't have sex. Carter was serious. Anil. It makes you and roe deer have sex. When the guards of Ryugu Castle saw Anil approaching, a wary expression appeared on their faces. Stop, don't come any closer, or we'll shoot. They held their flintlocks flat. Hey, didn't Jinpei tell you? Although I promised he wouldn't mess around. But don't show any intention of attacking me. It will make people feel like you are taking the initiative to pick things up. Anil stared. Dragon might overflow. Invisible coercion swept across the audience. The guards felt uncontrollable trembling all over their bodies. It's like being stared at by some deep-sea beast. That is the fear from the depths of the soul, it is the panic of the body's instinct. Shocked, apprehensive, bewildered. The heart beat faster, and the blood flowed rapidly throughout the body. A chill rushed from his back to his forehead, and all his strength seemed to be taken away. His mind went blank, and he fell straight to the ground. Anil had practiced seeing, hearing and seeing on Black Moon Island, and using the same method to control Longwei, he could accurately shock his own target without hurting the rest of the people. The surrounding Ottoheim and others just felt that their skin was slightly numb at that moment, as if some wind was blowing. Some dull people don't even feel anything. Just what did he do? Said an ordinary Murloc next to him. For these ordinary, fish people, who have been living on Fishman Island, this is an unheard of power. The elites in the guards in the palace actually all fell to the ground. There was a commotion in the crowd. As this? I'm afraid that's true. The capital of the king, the overlord, is domineering. The well-informed members of the mermaid pirates immediately recognized Anil's power. They put their hands on their hips, a look I understand. However, still guessed wrong. Boss Jinbei has already told us, and we believe his judgment. You shouldn't be an enemy of our mermaid pirates under this sea. Aladdin said. To be precise, I don't want to be an enemy of Jinpei. Just your words, even in this deep sea, can't help me. Anil added with a smile. Why are you here? Don't get close to Empress Yi. Don't worry, this person is not hostile. Otoji said, I can feel that he is not hostile to our mermaid. Otoji was sweating coldly. Although she didn't feel Enel's hostility, she felt the deep malice in his heart. The soul that is dark like a bottomless abyss is not aimed at the mermaid island, but towards the malice of the entire world indiscriminately. In order to reassure those around her, she didn't say everything. And he didn't feel any hostility towards them, which meant that Enel wouldn't attack them. The merfolk's situation is safe. Otherwise, she will drag Enel desperately and let her people escape. She would perceive the darkness in Enel, of course. Enel himself is a force capable of manipulating darkness. His darkness can interfere with seeing and hearing domineering. Just like that sentence said. It doesn't matter if your IQ is not enough, first bring the opponent's IQ to the same level as yourself, and then use your rich experience to defeat your opponent. Enel's strategy is similar. His eyesight can't predict other people's attacks, so let others also not predict his attacks. Since the darkness can attract the domineering of the armed, then he also tried to use it to attract the domineering of the knowledgeable. The effect is not bad. Of course, this is also limited. At most, it reduces the perception of others, and it is impossible to completely erase it. Enel put the crown around Carter's neck, and approached Shirahoshi with the rose. There is a power that cannot be measured by common sense, a power that makes everything possible, a power that can destroy everything. The gap between species is not a problem. The 10,000-meter barrier between land and deep sea is not difficult. All difficulties and obstacles will be destroyed by this spiritual storm. Your charming eyes touch my mind, and your flawless face seduces my soul. I understand the meaning of my coming to the great root, crossing thousands of rivers, thousands of mountains, and many obstacles, just to come to you. Enel is affectionate, half kneeling on the ground, holding flowers high in both hands. This force that pushes me forward is called love. Marry me, white star. Bai Xing covered his mouth with his little hands and was at a loss. Shirahoshi is only 6 years old now, and I have no idea what you, Enel, are talking about. She just thought he was so funny. His 3 older brothers, Shark Star, Emperor Star, and Rollover Star, could already understand what Enel meant. Doing the same action as Shirahoshi, covering their mouths with their hands, they were shocked. The place was silent. Yak was silent. Then there was a thunderous exclamation. Huh. This is a marriage proposal. Chapter 210. Just want a political marriage. Isn't it a human being would actually propose to Princess Shirahoshi? How is that possible? I see, he must have bad intentions for Princess White Star. The princess is only 6 years old. How could someone propose to a child? Yes, this vile human being. Shocked and astonished at first. In the opinion of most Murlocs, human beings should discriminate against Murlocs, enslave Murlocs, and treat Murlocs as playthings and inferior creatures. How could someone propose to a mermaid? They don't believe it and they don't agree. Humans have a prejudice against Murlocs, and they also hate humans. Fish people yearn for the sea, longing for land, air, and sunlight, but human beings are their greatest danger and obstacle. Human beings need to be guarded and vigilant. This concept has been deeply ingrained in the hearts of mermaids. After the initial surprise was followed by a series of doubts and speculations. They all thought it was Enel's conspiracy, and they just wanted to use this excuse to take Shirahoshi away. Then Shirahoshi was imprisoned, trained, and turned into a plaything for people to watch. Get it in the auction house and sell it for money. Just as those human nobles did to merfolk slaves. In fact, they guessed half right. Enel really just wanted to take Shirahoshi away. But a fool would sell Aquaman. As for incarceration, believe it or not, every minute she cried, a group of sea kings with a length of more than 5 kilometers stared at you. Enel is not someone who can't walk when she sees a woman. Love is a luxury in such a cruel sea. Roger implicates Luju because of his love. Disolo loves when he has no strength, and becomes crazy after losing his lover. In the world of pirates, if you don't have the consciousness of dying, don't talk about love extravagantly. This is the bond, the driving force to become stronger. It may also be the gentle town that makes people sink. It is the rope around the neck. Anil won't fall in love, at least he doesn't have that kind of consciousness now. I don't have the courage to give my life for this. How can there be shackles on the road to becoming stronger? He would propose to Bai Xing, which was purely political, and interests were the most important factor. First of all, Bai Xing is Neptune. Unlike that Pluto, this is really in front of you. Although she has not been able to exert this power yet, how could she not try the temptation that is at hand? According to Doflamingo's intelligence, Enel knew that he had the blood of a royal family in an island country near Dressrosa in the New World. His next plan is to seize the country and further plan the seat of Shichibukai after becoming king. Then calm down and develop, collect resources to strengthen yourself. Right now, he couldn't fight against monsters like Whitebeard, Kaido, Lingling, and Shanks. The situation of the four emperors dividing the New World is not something he can shake. And the first half of the Great Route is the location of the naval headquarters. No matter where he was, he couldn't get up. Therefore, an identity that can better protect him from naval harassment is necessary. In Anil's plan, when he became king, some diplomatic things could not be avoided. Those who are concerned are easy to control. Enel must show that he cares about his country and strives to develop it. Only in this way can the world government believe in his sincerity and reduce its vigilance against him. There are limits to how a country can develop. Moreover, after joining the world government, and being incorporated into the system of the world government, they need to be restrained by the world government. At that time, Enel also became part of the community of interests of the world government. The threat of the navy naturally no longer exists. Developing a country is not just for the sake of appearance. Enel needs devil fruits, and buying devil fruits requires a lot of money. He did get a lot on the empty island, but he couldn't just sit back and eat. The accumulation of funds is also necessary. Relying on the identity of Chiwahai to legally plunder is one way. And occupying a country, there is no reason to not use such ready-made resources. A country wants to develop, not just domestic management. Diplomacy is equally important. Enel took a fancy to Fishman Island. There is the main road, the transportation hub connecting the New World with the first half of the Great Waterway. Although going through the Holy Land Marijoa is also a way. But if passing through the Holy Land, it is necessary to abandon the ship. If you are doing business, you will not only have to move the goods to the towering red soil road, but also pay a lot of taxes. And some prohibited items cannot pass the security check. Compared with Marijoa, the advantage of this channel of Fishman Island is obvious. Taxes are not high and shipping costs are smaller. But there is a fatal disadvantage, that is, it is too dangerous. There is always the possibility of death. Thus, the role of the fish people came into play. If there are murlocs on the ship, they are familiar with the environment and can make the merchant ship avoid many dangers in advance, greatly reducing the possibility of death. Controlling this traffic artery means controlling a lot of wealth. With his current strength, Enel was simply unable to subdue the murlocs, so he had to use cooperative methods. Make a pact with the murlocs to draw on their power. It just so happens that the fish people also yearn for the landing site, and such cooperation with Enel can promote their communication with humans, and at the same time, it can also bring a lot of economic benefits to the Fishman Island. The best way to establish a friendly alliance between two countries is marriage. In fact, for Enel, the latter few are secondary. Taking Bai Xing into hand through marriage is the biggest gain. Who told him that his strength is not enough now, otherwise where would there be so much nonsense? What he wanted to do most was to grab Bai Xing and run away. He needs a lot of life force. Where in the pirate world has the most vitality? The answer, of course, is the windlass belt. If you can really guide the power of Bai Xing and use her power to brush the copy of the windlass belt, then it is not a dream to hang up the four emperors' navy. After really swallowing a windlass belt, even if the absorption efficiency is low, he has the confidence to say what a general is. I'm going to hit 3. Of course, Shirahoshi and the Neptunes are friends, and it is unlikely for her to order the Neptunes to come and die. But it is also a goal. Always give it a try, and you won't lose anything. Well, there are still losses. In this way, he can be regarded as throwing out his morals. If we cooperate with other countries in the future, we cannot use marriage as a means. This can be considered a different kind of prostitution. If none of the expected goals have been achieved, then Enel thinks about it. It seems that it is not a loss. Bai Xing can be listed as a great beauty who keeps pace with the Empress, and it is also very seductive to look at. Moreover, just holding the Sea King in his hand and not letting others use it is also a great gain. Selling yourself for this is a good deal. What is the festival? For his own development, in order to become stronger, what is the title of princess to a person who has no feelings at all? It would be nice to have such a status. As for the reality of husband and wife, Enel would be grateful. For Shirahoshi, he is interested, not sensual. The above is just Enel's plan. Whether this can be accomplished or not depends on the attitude of the Murlocs and whether the world government recognizes the throne that he will seize in the future. Chapter 211 Make an Alliance, Mermaid Island. Why, what exactly do you want to do? Obahime didn't yell at Enel like the rest of the Murlocs, but looked at him in shock. She has the ability to listen to all things. Although she cannot know the thoughts of others, she can perceive emotions and distinguish between good and evil. Her sense of sight told her that Enel had no malice. At least, there is no idea of harming White Star or Mermaid Island. Although it's not as loving as he said, but she can really feel the sincerity and kindness of Enel. Enel's desire to marry Shirahoshi is sincere. He didn't want to completely dominate and control Shirahoshi. She just wanted to keep her power from being used by others and put this power by her side. If possible, it is best to be your own help. If you can't use it, that's fine. Enel's attitude towards Fishman Island is also based on the principle of win-win cooperation. It is of great help to Mermaid Island's desire to contact human beings and to improve relations with human beings. Therefore, relying on her knowledge, Yiji learned that there is no love or malice, but it is full of sincerity. Regarding his attitude of non-discrimination against Murlocs, it is sincere. Her heart was touched a lot. Humans who don't hate Murlocs exist. Humans can communicate. Their mermaid families wish to move to land is not an impossible fantasy. I said, I want to marry Bai Xing. Let's find a place to talk about the detailed reasons. It's not suitable here. 15 minutes later, Enel, Jinbei, Obahime, and Neptune gathered in the palace of Ryugu Castle. If a battle breaks out here, it will be very detrimental to Enel. Glancing at the seawater outside, he wasn't too worried. Ryuguchung is relatively small. After using 15 devil fruits to improve his dark ability, he is confident that he will swallow all the seawater of this Ryuguchung. Because of Neptune's physique, the tables and chairs in the conference room were relatively tall. Enel sat cross-legged on the table, Obahime stood on the chair. Only Shippen was sitting upright, and Neptune felt like a big man sitting on a small bench. The minister on the left and the minister on the right stood on both sides of Neptune, and behind the pillar next to him, there were 3 little devils poking their heads and trying to eavesdrop. In terms of physical age, Enel was not much older than them. Neptune looked at Enel, at his own, and felt like he was looking at other people's children. A huge head emerged from behind Shark Star and others. Sensing the shadow behind them, they quickly turned around and made a mute gesture towards Bai Xing. Shish! White Star, didn't I tell you not to follow? We'll go back and tell you after we've eavesdropped. Rollover Star said. Yeah, Bai Xing, you are too big to be spotted easily. Huang Xing added. Carter, who was squatting on Enel's chair, rolled his eyes, thinking that you had already been discovered. But people want to hear it. Bai Xing was about to cry. Don't cry, Bai Xing, you can just watch it here. If you cry, we will all be found. Her 3 brothers waved again and again. Well, Bai Xing nodded heavily, biting his chin. When they looked at the conference table again, they saw Enel staring straight at them. Lines of sight meet in midair, Rover Star and Emperor Star are embarrassed. Oops. Found out. The old big shark star was expressionless, like I was very calm, but in fact he was also panicked. Totally overwhelmed. You all go out, our lords have something important to say, Neptune said. It's okay to let them listen. We're talking about the future of Mermaid Island, and we have a little connection with them, Anal said. You won't say it, will you? Well, we promise not to tell. The four of them said in unison. Also, although I also hope that you will have a carefree childhood, the children of the royal family should take responsibility earlier than their peers. The future of this island rests on you. Neptune nodded. Let's get to the point. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Enelvisiris Leforwater. I'm a pirate with a bounty of 150 million Baileys. Maybe your attitude towards pirates is not friendly. No, we also treat them differently. People are different, and so are pirates. Although we have kept the troubles of pirates, this island is also at peace because of pirates. The one who protects it in his name, the man who came to Mermaid Island, the man who brought us great favor, is also a pirate. Neptune interrupted Enel's words. Oh, is that so? It's great that you can think that way, to avoid a lot of communication barriers. Enel knew who Neptune was talking about. First, let me introduce myself. Xiaoxing rolled his eyes, thinking to himself, didn't you introduce yourself just now? I'm not only a pirate, but also the royal blood of a certain country flows through this body. Speaking of which, I can be regarded as a prince. Ah, prince. Is it the same as the brothers? Bai Xing looked curious. However, that royal family has been overthrown. So my father fled to the North Sea. And now I will take back the throne that should belong to me. Anal stretched out his right hand and clenched his palm. Does this have anything to do with us? Minister Zuo interjected, if you want to use our strength, it is impossible. Our Mermaid Island will never be involved in war because of human grievances. Ahahaha, with your strength, I don't need it, I can easily conquer a country with just me. Anal said solemnly. How is it possible? How can one man rival the state? Retorted the right minister, who thought it was just Enel's boasting. Vision limits their cognition. No, if it's this man, he does have the power to rival the country. Jinbei said, however, I still don't understand what you mean. You want to take back the throne, it seems that it has nothing to do with us. It is true that I have nothing to do with you to take back the throne, but the kingdom also needs to develop. The development of a country cannot be done by internal affairs alone, it also needs diplomacy. I need external forces to speed up the development of my country. I chose you mermaids, island. You want to communicate with humans, do you want to deepen communication with humans? Then it should be a good proposal to choose an alliance with a human country. My country, what do you think? Anal stretched out his right hand and made an invitation gesture. Chapter 212 Alliance Talks. Are you serious? Otoji's expression was full of excitement. Want to interact with our Mermaid Island and promote your citizens to communicate with us? Ah yes, Enel replied. Wait a minute, I have a question. Jinping said solemnly, what we want on Mermaid Island is peaceful coexistence with the entire human race, not just a certain country. The ruler of this world is still the world government. The vast majority of countries are in this huge organization. And you are a pirate. Will the world government recognize the country that the pirates seized by force? The allied target of Fishman Island must also be a member country of the world government. Jinbei also has a great say in the Fishman Island issue, and even Neptune cannot ignore his opinion. Because he is the highest combat power on Fishman Island. I will propose an alliance, of course, with great confidence. Let's assume that my throne can be successfully retaken and recognized by the world government. If this premise is not established, then our alliance agreement will be useless. And you shouldn't decide on such a major event on the spot. Before I successfully retake the country, you should think about it seriously. No one refuted Enel's words. His strength has proved that he has the qualifications to say these words. Anyway, there is no loss in listening, and at most a few hours of time are wasted. Things went as Enel expected. He had already decided to contact the Murlocs on his way there. And it is necessary for Neptune to have a good conversation with him and to show great strength. If an ordinary person without the slightest strength, then I am afraid that no one will take it seriously. And Neptune, as the king of a country, obviously could not seriously discuss with him what would happen if he became a king in the future. Even if there were no Murlocs talking about him, even if there was no such thing as Carter, Enel would take the initiative to stir up trouble to attract Jinping's attention. Discuss with Neptune about forming an alliance after showing your strength. Enel is very sure that the world government will accept him, at least it is basically no problem to become the king of the allied countries. As for the seat of Chihuahua, it will take more effort to fight for it. First of all, he has original royal blood, which is legal in name. Now the ruler of that country, because he usurped the throne himself, was resisted by most kings. For the royal family of the countries that joined the world government, if they really admit this shameful usurper, then there must be one or the other, which is tantamount to promoting this ethos and detrimental to their rule. They will sympathize with the royal family who have fallen down because of the betrayal of their subordinates, and will even lend a helping hand. This is the tacit understanding of the entire class. All people will spontaneously maintain this system, the absolute rule of the king, the system of the sacred and inviolable kingship. Whether it is a wise king or a tyrannical king, both are the beneficiaries of this system. Probably only idealistic kings like Neptune, Cobra, and King Riku would not take their throne seriously. After all, there are very few kings who take care of their people more than the throne. It's a real world, and in the comics, this romantic idealism is on purpose. And magnify the beautiful side, reduce the cruel and bloody picture, and omit the corpses and blood and tears of countless ordinary people behind the blood. It's also true that such a major matter cannot be decided quickly. So, do you have a more specific plan? An alliance treaty between countries can't be just word of mouth. Neptune stare at Enel. I haven't drafted the specific document yet. But the general idea is already there. You may as well listen to it. If you have any suggestions, you can also say it. Enel didn't say the proposal directly, but looked at Ottoheim and asked, hey, you guys are trying very hard to get close to humans, but it always doesn't work. Do you know why? It must be that we haven't worked hard enough, and human beings haven't felt our kindness. I believe that if we persist, we will be able to understand each other one day. Otoji's face was firm. Ahahaha, Enel laughed. What's so ridiculous? Humans, are you laughing at Empress Otoji's dream? She is working hard for the dreams of all of us Murlocs. The Minister of Right looked at Enel angrily. No, I didn't laugh at your dreams. Even if I don't agree, I will never ridicule people who are determined and full of dreams. I'm not laughing at your dreams, but your actions. I don't think it's too childish. A little childish. Yiji was puzzled. You said that human beings can't feel the kindness you released. Didn't you mention it at the previous World Conference? It should be, but how effective is it? There is no change in the slightest, right? Enel smiled. Otahime was silent, as they have always been, constantly presenting their wishes at the World Conference and reflecting their demands. But little has been achieved, and even relations with humans are still deteriorating. Those human kings really don't understand you. Can't you really feel your sincerity and friendship? No, although some kings themselves discriminate against you, but there should be some people who are not exclusive, or friendly, right? But how many people can take measures in their own country to change the people's views on your Murlocs and safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of your Murlocs in other countries? Few, right? Enel said something so cruel that Otahime trembled. Why? I want to know why too. Isn't it good that everyone understands each other well? Isn't it good that everyone helps each other and lives in harmony together under the sun? Enjoy the blessings brought by the sun together, and the boundless sky together. Is it only the difference in appearance and the difference in race that is destined to be unable to communicate? Why do we hurt each other? Why do we fight endlessly? We are all the same, and we all yearn for a peaceful and beautiful life. We are all the same. Odahime said excitedly, tears falling down her cheeks. She was shaking and her breathing was messy. Along with her emotional excitement, her arrogance was also launched at the same time. Her innate power and arrogance gave her the ability to listen to the voices of others and use her emotions to infect the hearts of others. Even for a moment, Enel suddenly thought that if everyone could live in peace and understand each other, how wonderful the world would be. This thought only lasted for a moment, and was expelled from his mind by Enel. That's simply not possible. Chapter 213 Alliance Conference 2. Hearing Otoji's cry, everyone fell silent. All are infected. Sadness and helplessness flooded my mind. Baixing and Roy started to cry, and the three Murloc princes also had large groups of tears swirling in their eyes. Wow, so sad, Roy cried. Carter took Roy into his arms and comforted him. Don't cry, I just don't eat them. When you feel better, allow me to eat before I eat. It made this decision very hard. It was a decision that made it very tangled and sad. For Roy, it sacrificed. Ro dear, I love your deep love. Carter stared at Roy. Neptune lowered his eyes, remembering the history of communication between mermaids and humans. The world Odahime dreamed of was a legend that existed for hundreds of years. The dream that their ancient ancestors of the mermaid had tried, but was shattered in the end, was her dream. However, as a husband, he could not satisfy his wife's wishes. As king, he could not satisfy the wishes of the people. He was deeply helpless, but also with a touch of guilt. Enel has gotten rid of Otahime's influence. Why? Of course it's for profit. Those countries that are far away from your mermaid island don't have much connection with you. Those kings don't need to work hard to change their people's impression of you. It takes a lot of time and money to promote your image and play down the people's vigilance about your different appearances. It's completely thankless. And those countries that are close to the Fishman Island have relatively more contacts with your fishmen. However, is there any substantial benefit for them to befriend you? Can it bring them money? Yes, make the lives of their people better. No way. To lend a helping hand to those in need. There may be selfless help without asking for anything in return, but between countries, interests are the eternal theme. If you want other countries to pay attention to your mermaid island, you must show enough interest to impress them. As long as there is interest, race, skin color, appearance, etc. are not a problem. If they feel that the benefits of establishing diplomatic relations with you are sufficient, the human kings will not mind at all issuing decrees to protect the legitimate rights and interests of your Murlocs within their territory. Murlocs are kept as slaves. Enel's right hand clenched a fist across his chest. However, peace maintained by interests will not last long. What we need is true mutual understanding of the soul. Odahime disagreed with Enel's point of view. You'll never get anywhere just by preaching at home to be friendly to humanity. Without contact, your people will never really know humanity. Besides, complete peace is impossible. All have selfish desires and selfishness. Quote. Conflict arises, conflicts lead to fights. Not only for you Murlocs, but even among humans, wars happen every day, and people die every day at the hands of their compatriots. Compared to you, Jinpei should be more aware of the ugliness of the human heart. Enel looked at Jinbei, and some words were more convincing if they were uttered by their own people. Jinbei looked at Odahime. He's right, the battle between humans is even more cruel than we realize. The light of hope in Otohime's eyes dimmed a little. If you want to promote the relationship with human beings, then a certain contact is necessary. And if you want to protect your people from human harm to the greatest extent in this contact, then the best way is to instead form a community of interests. Use money to tie the two countries together. Enel looked at Neptune, waiting for his answer. This is the master of Mermaid Island. You're right, although it's completely different from what we thought, it's still a good method. Atsuhime, only through contact can we improve understanding. We need a start for change. Compared to Otome, Neptune is a little more rational. He figured out the meaning more quickly. Then, how should we do it? We won't pay tribute to the human kingdom in a low voice and seek acceptance by betraying our dignity. Neptune stared at Enel. Of course you won't be allowed to do this. That would completely lose the meaning of communication. Haven't you discovered the great commercial value of Mermaid Island? Enel asked. Huge commercial value. Neptune looked up at the ceiling, thoughtful. After a long time, he looked at Enel confidently and said, I don't know. Then don't pretend that you understand. The ministers on the left and right shouted at him. I'm sorry. Neptune lowered his head with a look of disappointment. Enel's mouth twitched. How could he feel that none of the kings he met was normal? The Mermaid Island is the main traffic link connecting the first half of the Great Waterway and the New World. With such a superior geographical location, if the danger of going to and from the deep sea can be reduced, the flow of people will be huge. There will be substantial economic benefits. Quote, we can cooperate to open up a trade route on the road from Mermaid Island to the New World. Enel said amazingly. This is impossible. The danger is too great. Your human businessmen will not be willing to take such a dangerous path. The minister of Zuo left and retorted. Nothing is impossible, as long as there are enough benefits, even at risk of life. This is the businessman. Every time they do business is actually a gamble. As long as the price is enough, they don't mind putting pressure on themselves. Your life. And precisely because of the danger, it's in your merfolk's favor, said Enel. What's wrong with that? Neptune asked. The bottom of the sea is very dangerous for humans, but what about you mermaids? If you clean up all kinds of dangerous creatures on the fixed roads, there shouldn't be any danger for you mermaids, right? Enel pointing at Neptune. Indeed, the threat of the sea to us is far less than the threat to your human beings. This is where we live for a long time. Even children among the mermaids can swim freely in the deep sea of 10,000 meters. Neptune nodded. Head. Then you should take advantage of this. What humans can't do, you murlocs can do. Let humans see your role and show your value. Then there will be a lot of humans who want to get you. Friendship. Enel jumped off the table and sat on his side. Soothe your numb legs from sitting cross-legged. Chapter 214 Alliance Talks 3. Take advantage of this, Ogahime murmured. Yes, we can find a stable route from the sea to Mermaid Island. Clear this route of dangerous creatures. In the beginning, I can set up a courier company. I am responsible for negotiating with the leaders of those chambers of commerce, and you mermaids are responsible for the delivery. As you pick up your shipments, there will inevitably be human contact. There may be some misgivings and mistrust at first, but there will always be people who will try. When we have established a good reputation, more people will pass through our channels. At that time, we should also have a deep understanding of deep-sea routes. With a lot of sailing experience, we know how to avoid some danger zone. At this time, there is no need for all the goods to be transported by your murlocs. It is only necessary to send a guide to guide the human merchant ships to the Mermaid Island, and then sail to the New World. The huge interest in this is enough to make the surrounding countries jealous, and they are likely to use force to oppress and seize some of these interests. However, if we can resist this pressure, then they can only compromise and join us peacefully. Business. Quote. At this time, they have to protect the rights and interests of the mermaid for the sake of their own interests. We can incorporate several countries near the Mermaid Island into a community of interests. Let the kings promulgate the decree of the mermaid in their country. Although there are still a lot of complicated details to be dealt with in this idea, and it can't make your murloc face the entire human race. But, isn't it a step by step? This can at least give the murloc a way forward. As Enel spoke out his idea step by step, Ogahime's eyes became brighter and brighter, because she felt that this was indeed a very effective method. Neptune said after thinking for a while, your idea is indeed likely to promote the improvement of our relationship with humans, but one thing cannot be forgotten. That is, the mermaid itself can sell for a high price. If this problem is not solved, then humans won't stop catching mermen. This is indeed a big problem, and I can only try to minimize the danger it brings but not cure it. Enel spread his hands helplessly. Even if it reduces the threat from this, that would be nice. Can you tell me your method? Jinbei asked. First of all, you can't fully trust in your contact with human beings, and you must always maintain a vigilance. This does not affect your communication with human beings. You must know that even people are not completely trusted. In addition, humans buy murlocs just for viewing. Only those big nobles and big businessmen have the financial resources. If the nearby kings can issue a law that they cannot hold murloc slaves, then the market for merman slaves will be reduced. Will drop a lot. Quote. It's just a hobby after all, and they don't have to fight the king for it. Besides, when the murlocs can bring them money, they won't raise them anymore. It's the slave traders and auction houses that are really hit. Quote. Anil took a sip from the teacup, the faint smell of seaweed spreading in his mouth. The taste is dry, but with a fragrance. This is Ryugu Castle's specialty tea. After listening to Enel, they all showed excited expressions. Although there are many flaws, it is also a road that can be tried. Don't be too happy, there is a problem, but we can't get around it no matter what. That is, the nobles of the world. Enel poured a pot of cold water on them. He didn't want to deceive the murlocs. He explained all the pros and cons clearly, which showed his sincerity. It's better than having a big mess because of this problem after the implementation, and the two sides turned against each other. The source of all evil in the pirate world, the Dragon Man. Enel didn't like these guys. One by one looks like a straw bag, but there are admirals to maintain their majesty. Enel didn't want to deal with them very much, but he couldn't get around and had to get in touch with them. No way, if you don't want to be chased around the world by the Navy, you must have a white identity. If he wanders around, it will affect the efficiency of his resource collection and slow down the speed of becoming stronger. This is what Enel does not want to see. If the strength is not strong enough, and there is no confidence to face the generals, then it can only be tolerated. When the great changes of the times come, it is time for him to show his fangs. The Tianlong people have great power, and they are above the kings of all countries. If they want mermaids to be slaves, the king can't do anything. When Enel said this, everyone present was silent. Neptune clenched his fists, he was angry and disappointed. It was rare to find a practical way, but it was blocked by the Tianlong people. At this moment, his hatred for the Tianlong people was infinitely heightened. I have a proposal for the Tianlong people, I'm afraid you won't accept it. Enel tapped the table with his index finger. What proposal? Neptune asked. Among you murlocs, there should be quite a few people who hate humans, right? Yes, there are indeed many. The right minister replied to Enel. Obahime thought of Mermaid Street, where most of the murlocs who grew up and lived had strong hatred and hostility towards humans. Is a very unstable factor. Hatred will pass, hostility will accumulate, and murlocs will continue to be assimilated by their will and become one of them. Then go to render the others and paint more murlocs in their colors. This is how the seeds of sin and darkness sprout and grow. The dangers of the trade route we are about to open come not only from sea beasts, ocean currents, but also from the threat of the mermaid itself. I am afraid that there are many murlocs who hate humans and will take action to attack merchant ships. Enel said. I will dissuade them, let them know that this is wrong, and let them understand that this is wrong. Only by understanding each other can we be able to narrow the distance between each other. Otoji said hurriedly. But you can't convince everyone that it's a fact, can you? Atsuki was silent. Hey, since those are the obstacles that hinder our peaceful communication, the stumbling blocks on the road of friendship between humans and murlocs, then let's remove them. How about handing over those mermen who dared to attack our merchant ships to be slaves and hand them over to the Tianlong people? This will eliminate. When Enel said these words, his muscles tensed, and he was always vigilant about his surroundings, because he knew that it was likely to anger Neptune. What did you say? Sure enough, before he could finish speaking, Neptune roared angrily. He slapped the table and stared at Enel with a strong murderous intent. Chapter 215 Alliance Conference 4. It's terrifying. You scared me to death, don't look at me with such a terrifying expression. Anal exaggerated. How? Isn't that bad? This will not only remove the obstacles brought by those murlocs who hate humans, and allow them to be punished, but also reduce the resistance from the dragon people. Yes. What's wrong? Enel seemed completely unaware that Neptune was in a rage. You said that I would send my compatriots to the Tianlong people as slaves. How is this possible? We want to live in peace with human beings for the happiness of our compatriots. If I personally push them into the abyss, then I will do so. What's the point? What's the point of being allied with you? Neptune punched the stone table. Clap clap. One after another cracks spread, and the entire stone table shattered into several pieces. Enel jumped down before the table fell. You have to know that nothing is perfect in this world. If you want to get something, you have to give something. The truth is so cruel. If you want some people to be happy, you must sacrifice the interests of others. It is impossible for people with completely conflicting ideas to live in peace. Sooner or later, you will have to make a choice. Whether to break with human beings completely, or move closer to human beings. No matter which choice you make, the other side will be hurt. The other side will be a hindrance to your progress. One day, you will take up arms and point at your fellow man. Unless you are content with the status quo and don't want to change, but then if you do, your dreams will never come true. Why? Is there no other way? Why is it so cruel? Autoji covered her face and cried. Neptune was even more irritable, and he could do it at any time. And I'm not talking about degrading the murlocs who hated humans as slaves, but the murlocs who attacked merchant ships and committed serious crimes as slaves. Enel continued. In the human kingdom, there are not a few people who have been reduced to slavery. The criminal must be punished, executed, or otherwise. If these people are still valuable, they will try their best to bring out their final value. This is the law of the human kingdom. In this era when the survival of ordinary people cannot be guaranteed, and the nobles are wantonly exploiting, there is no such thing as human rights. Nobles will only make choices that are most beneficial to them. As for how criminals feel, who will take care of it? That's also the law of human beings. It's not our murlocs, don't add this kind of ugliness to us. Neptune was still angry, but his emotions had calmed down a lot. It's not ugliness, it's order. If you want to approach human beings, you must understand our practices. Humans have an absolute advantage in numbers. You can't change the entire human race. Even if there is disagreement, it is best don't be mad either. If it's an impatient king, then our talks have broken down. No, actually, I don't have much patience either. I have many choices, but there are not many people who are willing to accept you. You should always rely on that little bit of air and sunshine to live under this deep sea. The world is not for you. Such a stubborn king who doesn't understand flexibility will lead the country to ruin. Before you can't accept the ugliness of human beings, you can't look directly at the dirty darkness, and you can't learn to compromise. Don't think about going to the human world. The world of human beings is not so beautiful. Quote. Of course, if you don't want to further expand the scope of communication and just choose my country, that's fine. I will issue laws that don't allow murloc slaves, and don't allow people to attack murlocs at will. In my country, murlocs can get the same rights as ordinary humans. If anyone dares to offend, they will either be hanged or reduced to slavery. Similarly, if your subjects violate my laws, it is the same punishment. I will not give preferential treatment for being a murloc, nor will I impose a heavier punishment for it. Both sides of the covenant are equal. In my opinion, murlocs and humans are all the same. There is no difference, there is no need to treat them differently. That's why I will first ask you if you have the will to form an alliance. Enel squeaked loudly. That's it for our discussion. If you can't figure it out, there's no point in continuing. Let me know before I officially get the throne. After that, if you don't answer, I'll choose the rest of the country. Enel turned to leave. Wait a minute, if you have an ally, is it possible for us to continue working together? Neptune asked suddenly. The two words Anil said of equality were very precious to him. It doesn't mean that there is no, but the possibility of cooperation will be greatly reduced at that time. When I have not yet established a firm position, I will be eager to seek cooperation to consolidate my position. If I have an allied country, then what will you do to me? The necessity is greatly reduced. Quote. Secondly, I am the only one left in my family. When I get married, there is no other person to marry. Anil shrugged. Do you have to get married if you form an alliance? A man like you shouldn't be stubborn to keep such an idea, right? Jinbei said. Of course not, but the covenant is meant to be torn apart. Adding a layer of marriage to the covenant is nothing more than making the covenant more reliable. If we say that a treaty that was originally worth breaking up if it could obtain 100 million baileys, plus the marriage contract, then it may take 500 million baileys to tear it up. Anil didn't lie, and under Odahime's knowledge, he wanted to show his sincerity as much as possible. Marriage between human nobles is a very common phenomenon. It is a very lucky thing to be able to marry someone you don't hate. As I just said, if you want to get close to human beings, you have to understand the way humans behave. Quote. It is the nobles who dominate this world, not the pirates. Unless someone can directly overthrow the world government, this will never change. At this time, the revolutionary army had not yet risen, and the rule of the aristocratic class was still unshakable. Don't look at me as a pirate. In fact, I was trained according to the standards of noble children when I was a child. It's really helpless to be wanted. Anil didn't lie, it just sounded a little different from the truth. He was indeed taught that way by art when he was a child, but after he obtained the devil fruit, he never took art's teaching seriously. It is indeed quite helpless for him to be wanted. He did not take the initiative to hang the pirate flag, and he is not proud of being rewarded. So Odahime's sense of Anil's words through hearing and seeing is that what he said is true. She understood it herself that a destitute nobleman was forced to become a pirate in order to survive. Chapter 216 Shipwrecked Draco. Anil made a bubble out of bubble coral, wrapped himself in Roy, and left Ryugu Castle with Carter. He didn't show too much will, that would make people notice his anomaly. And said that this level is also his limit. He's not a very articulate person, and coming up with this idea almost killed his brain cells. He actually prefers to use his fists to solve problems than to activate his brain. But he couldn't fight very well in the sea, so he had to use a more euphemistic way to seek cooperation. All that can be done has been done, the next step is only luck. Anil had always thought that his face was very white. Odahime, Jinbei, and Neptune were still sitting in their seats. Baixing and the others stood silently, not daring to let out the air. In their impression, their father has always been a very gentle person, and it was the first time they saw Neptune so angry. Neptune's love for his people is unquestionable, but he is not necessarily a good king. A country needs a unified voice. To be too soft-hearted and to appease those who deliberately break the decree will only bring the country into a crisis of division. Jinbei looked at the fragments of the stone table on the ground, breaking the atmosphere of silence. Maybe, he is right. If there is no way to unify the consciousness of this country, then there will be no future. What? Jinbei, even you? Neptune was surprised. The devil living in us who grew up in Mermaid Street has hindered the progress of the Murlocs. The Murlocs who hate humans are a drag on this island. Although I don't want to leave my comrades behind, if hatred continues to pass on, it will never end. The next generation will also be eroded by hatred and darkness. I think we should strictly prohibit the Murlocs from attacking merchant ships, and if there are still people who don't listen to the advice, then punish them. For those who are really hopeless idiots, it really can't be tolerated anymore. Otherwise there will be progress. Jinbei clenched his fists and said with difficulty. Neptune was also a little shaken after hearing Jinbei's words. That person's proposal is indeed very good, but there are three problems. One is the Murlocs that have been eroded by hatred. The second is the problem of the Tianlong people. The third is the marriage of the White Stars. The first one is relatively easy, as long as we can make up our minds. The second problem, we can't stop the Tianlong people from using the Murlocs as slaves, but it is also impossible to send their errant companions to hell. As for the third one, I can't bear my daughter. My white star. Neptune suddenly burst into tears. The others watched this scene speechlessly, not too surprised. Obviously this is not the first time I have seen this situation. Anyway, you are the ruler of this country. Think about it for yourself. If there is anything you need me, I will die. Jinping was also ready to leave. On Shirahoshi's question, he was not fit to intervene. Anil suddenly felt a strange life form breaking into his perception. If the life energy of an ordinary human being is green, then the life energy of this life body is sky blue. This kind of feeling, it's like that guy Doflamingo, the dragon man. Back in Anabaston, Anil had a similar feeling. At that time, Titi and Cobra gave him the same feeling. However, at that time, he hadn't learned to see the domineering, and there was no way to distinguish the difference between them and ordinary people as clearly as now. They are really different from ordinary people. Could it be that the Tianlong people are not human beings in the general sense? Enel guessed. The vitality of different creatures has subtle differences, just like humans and Murlocs are different. The difference between the Tianlong people is more obvious than that of the Murlocs in terms of life energy. The difference between Tianlong people and humans is greater than the difference between Murlocs and humans. Huh, what is Vesey talking about? Carter asked. It's all right, Cat, go over there. Enel pointed in the direction of the front entrance of Fishman Island. A tattered sailboat is heading for Fishman Island. After the Murloc soldiers carefully observed the ship, their expressions suddenly changed. Contact your boss immediately. Dragon Palace City, this is the border guard. There is a huge shipwreck requesting emergency entry. What is there to ask? Of course, let them enter as soon as possible, Minister Wright said nonchalantly. I don't know if something went wrong. There are Tianlong people on board. What? Let them in. Send emergency troops to the coast. I want to rush over immediately. Otoji rushed towards the border. His Royal Highness. The right minister wanted to dissuade him, but it was completely ineffective. Obahime knew the hatred of the people on Murloc Island for the Tianlong people, and no matter how close the Murlocs are to humans, they are the same. If they do something irrational, then things are in trouble. At the same time, she also realized the opportunity. If the Draconians can be persuaded, then the proposal Enel said can be unfolded. On the coast of Fishman Island, the fishmen watched the huge sailboat from a distance. Why are there celestial dragons at the bottom of the sea? It seems to have been attacked by sea creatures. Come on, do you hear me? Hurry up and bring the mask. The fishes, a man with a triangular hairstyle cried out on the ground. Ha 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 ha. He was gasping for breath, the blood loss had clouded his consciousness a little. Even though he was seriously injured and asked for help, he still couldn't change his arrogant attitude. They have long been high in the clouds, looking down at everything, and no one can be looked down upon by them except their kind. What he thinks in his mind now is not regret for his self-willedness, but complaining for the incompetence of his subordinates. Beasts, why are they all dead? This group of rubbish that doesn't make me so miserable. Here the stench of the Murlocs is killing me. Huh, where's the mask? Hurry up and save me, idiots. Huh, he took a breath for every word he said. Anil sat on the roof next to him and looked at him, feeling that this baby was helpless, and his IQ was really worrying. Does this sound like a call for help? There is no general to escort them here. How could the Tianlong people rule the world for 800 years? It made him feel like a pig being raised by humans. Carter glanced at the ship, which felt familiar. This seems to be the ship it saw when it came and was attacked by the sea beasts. Doctor, call the doctor quickly, if I don't come, I will die. He shouted sternly, but with a mighty arrogance. They must obey themselves, they must save themselves. I am a nobleman of the world. How could these inferior creatures disobey their orders? How dare they neglect themselves? Saint Muse Garrett felt very incredible. Chapter 217 Rescue. In such a situation, the first thing that came to mind was to have a face mask. In a sense, Anil said that he was very convinced by him. Where's the medical team? A Murloc soldier asked. It's here, but what to do with that thing, said another. That's what he used to describe the Tianlong people. The fish people no longer treat these disgusting guys as human beings. Should kill him, the world's #1 trash. Hody Jones stared at Saint Muse Lugard with a gloomy expression and hatred flashing in his eyes. It's so noisy over there in the port, said a four-legged shark man. I heard that the boat the dragons were on was in distress. Come and ask for help. Captain Vander Deacon. Bahoo-hoo-hoo, this is really interesting. Enel has noticed the villains that Luffy faces in the Mermaid Island arc. Their vitality is of a higher quality than others, and Enel discovered it at once. These two people may have an impact on his plan to open up a business road, but he did not take the plunge. Neptune wasn't there yet, and as a human, it wasn't very convenient to deal with them in full view. It shouldn't be like this. Saint Garrett, the Muse, recalls a conversation he had with his father. In his original expectation, he should have come to Fishman Island by himself. And then easily recaptured those Murloc collectibles he had paid for, and maybe even caught a beautiful young female merman or two. But how did it become like this? The Murlocs were not recaptured, the ship was damaged, and he himself was seriously injured. These Murlocs were so ignorant of praise, they dared to turn a deaf ear to his orders. What part went wrong? Hey, stop, what are you doing? There was a commotion in the crowd. Although they didn't want to see Tianlongren, they didn't dare to take the initiative to hurt him. The threat of the Admiral hangs over them. Alas. Saint Muse Garrett looked up and found his former slaves surrounded. You are my slaves. Go back with me obediently, who allowed you to be free, fishes. Originally, they were still a little hesitant, but when they heard that they were called fish, they were more determined. Even though Anil didn't see the merman as a human, he wouldn't speak out so openly to provoke them. He didn't care what species he was communicating with. Saint Muse Garrett was a little alarmed to find out that the slaves of the past had pointed guns at him. Stop, you guys. He is a heavenly dragon. Once he does it, the amnesty will be invalid. The other Murlocs around were also terrified. Muse Garrett Saint seriously shouted. Shut up, stop me, things that are beyond your own power, who do you think I am? On land, your majesty is maintained only by the voluntary dispatch of the Admiral of the Navy. But here is the bottom of the sea. As long as the islanders remain silent, this will be a ship accident, said a marlin bearer with a scar on the left side of his face. Hearing what he said, Saint Muse Garrett realized the danger of his situation. The rest of the fish people also reacted. It's also. I will keep silent. Me too, what is there to say? Let him taste the pain you have suffered. Give him some pain and kill him. The Murlocs are excited and can take revenge on the dragon people they hate, and there are not many opportunities to deal with them at will. All dissatisfaction and resentment erupted at this moment. They cheered, their faces grim, like devils. The flames of hatred burned and spread throughout the port. Oh, what's wrong? I'm so great. Saint Muse Garrett was still immersed in his identity. Hey, stop, damn fish. He cried out, and all his glory and pride, under the threat of death, was thrown away. At this moment, he realized his fall and his powerlessness. Those great halos are all illusory, and now, he just wants to live. Haven't you forgotten someone? It's not just you Murlocs here. Seeing that the time is almost up, Enel said aloud. Only in the most desperate moments can we understand the value of hope. Although it is disgusting, the benefits of having a good relationship with the Tianlong people are self-evident. Doing things according to your own preferences is something that only children do. When you don't have the strength to act recklessly, you can't indulge yourself, and you can't be impulsive like a child. Enel, he also needs reason and patience. According to the virtues of the heavenly dragons, Enel did not expect to be grateful for saving him once, but being his hope at the most desperate moment of Saint Muse Garrod can always leave a deep impression in his heart. What did I see? A group of murlocs dare to attack the nobles of the world. I can't keep silent. Enel jumped off the roof and walked slowly. It's bad, there are humans. It's over, to be seen by humans. What to do? It doesn't matter, it's just a human, everyone killed him. Kill me, hum. At this time, Enel had unabashedly exuded his breath. Those ordinary murlocs may just feel very uncomfortable, but those pirates and the soldiers of Dragon Palace City are like falling into the abyss. As if they were being stared at by a ferocious beast, they were sweating and trembling all over. The feeling of being engulfed by the boundless darkness made them stiffen and dare not move. Fishman Island is also a large island with a population of 5 million. The port is far from where Enel landed. Many of the murlocs gathered here have never seen Enel and Jinpei fight. Only a few soldiers have ever seen Aenir, but they are now terrified under the suppression of Aenir's aura. Escape. Flee. Don't fight him, this man is a monster. A soldier finally got rid of the oppression of his imposing manner and shouted loudly when he saw the murloc people who were eager to attack Enel. Cody took a few steps back, mixed into the crowd, and tried to reduce his presence as much as possible. He came to Neptune with a purpose, not really wanting to play for Neptune. Even if he hated humans very much, he didn't want to fight such a powerful enemy. Very good, save me, I will give you whatever you want. Saint Muse Garrod said. Enel looked at him in surprise, and it seemed that the crisis of life and death just now had no effect on him. At least let him recognize himself and know the current situation. Otherwise, according to the attitude of the original Tianlong people, it is estimated that it is a direct command tone, rather than as attractive as it is now. Chapter 218 Odahime's Determination and Shirahoshi's Kindness. Respected Tianlongren, I can only protect you from being hurt by trolls. As for the rest, I can't do anything. Enel spread his hands. I don't know how to heal, and if you want to be treated, you have to rely on murlocs. Friends. Then you drive away these bastards first, don't let them get close to me. Saint Muse Garrod said. Yes. Enel bowed slightly. If you don't want to attract the Admiral, just lie down obediently, this 10,000 meters of sea water can't stop them. Enel whispered in the ear of the leading mermaid. Boom, boom, boom. He kicked all the murlocs with guns at the Draco into the sea. The action was too fast for them to react. Enel didn't make a heavy hand, he just did it. The scarred murloc on his left face who was kicked into the water stopped his companions who wanted to go ashore and continue the fight. That man can easily kill us, don't go up. But, the other fat man wanted to say something. That's it, he doesn't seem to have much hostility towards us. Well done, doctor, go find a doctor for me. Muse Garrod Saint pulled Enel's trousers. Sorry, there is no human doctor here. We can only negotiate with the fish people first. The princess here is a very kind mermaid. I believe she will be willing to help us. Rudd was divided into the same camp. Enel didn't take all the credit for herself, and according to Odahime's character, it is estimated that she would still go to marry Joa to try to persuade the Tianlong people. Coupled with his proposal, she had to go even more. With the article, helping the Tianlong people and saving their lives, it will be more certain. If she can really convince the Draconians to back down on the merfolk slave issue, that would be a good thing for Enel too. He pretended to be indifferent on the surface, but in fact he was very anxious. If you can really marry the Fishman Island and marry the White Star, then the harvest will be huge. Enel knocked out the murlocs of the Sun Pirates. The surrounding fish people gradually moved closer to him with bad eyes. Don't be stupid, you guys, run away, shouted the soldier who had seen Enel's action. Stop it all for me. Otoji finally arrived and stopped in front of them. Who are the Tianlong people? Brother, Bai Xing, who arrived later, asked puzzled. It's a human being, Bai Xing. Among the many human beings, they are some of the more terrifying people. Shark Star was in a cold sweat. The children are watching, said Otahime. Princess Otoji, why do you want to protect those two humans? I totally feel your voice, I know your anger. But please don't pass on your hatred of human beings to children. They need to know and think for themselves in the future. Jinbei was shocked, and he remembered what Fisher Tiger had said before he died. Don't say anything to the people on the island. The tragedy that happened to us, and the anger against humanity. Are you that mermaid named Otami? Get someone to treat me. Otherwise, I'll definitely send the Admiral of the Navy headquarters out. Ano looked at him speechlessly, thinking just now that he would wake up after the feeling that his life was hanging by a thread. It is indeed an illusion. In order to prevent the situation from getting worse, a Longwei stunned him. Ano has no reverence for Tianlong people. Even if the general is really dispatched, he is he is still a little cowardly. But it's nothing to stun him with Longwei. Anyway, I guess this guy doesn't know what's going on. And he had already lost so much blood that there was nothing wrong with fainting at any time. Enel had no trouble doing it. It's much quieter this way, please help him heal. It's no good for you if this guy dies. Obahime nodded at Enel, then looked at Aladdin. I see, this will treat him. Because of Enel's intervention, Shirahoshi did not show the power of Aquaman this time. This is good news for him. After Neptune knows the true power of Bai Xing, there is absolutely no chance of marriage or something. The Tianlong people were taken to the hospital. That night, in Ryugu Castle, Otoji stood in front of Neptune. What? You are going to the human world to convince the Tianlong people? I absolutely disagree. That's too dangerous. Let me go, Neptune said anxiously. Trust me, I'll be successful. I'm more fit to be a lobbyist than you are. But what if the Tianlong people are persuaded to make concessions on the issue of slaves? There is still a very important condition for the establishment of the business road. Nipton was a little disappointed. Marriage. If we don't get married, then his trust in us will be greatly reduced. Otoji felt a little sad. If they were to sacrifice themselves, they would definitely not hesitate. But in the choice between the future of Fishman Island and the future of their daughter, it is a dilemma for them. There was an inexplicable grunt from the door. Who? Oops, found out. The foursome of the mermaid princess and prince broke through the door and fell in. Why are you here? Atsuki asked. Queen Mother, Bai Xing is going to marry a human, is this true? Shark Star asked. No, I don't want Shiraishi to leave. Rollover Star cried. Eiji sighed, and then said, don't worry, we won't let Bai Xing marry someone she doesn't like. What that person wants is profit. We can make some concessions in this regard. Money is not for us so important. The biggest benefit of cooperation to our Fishman Island is that it gives us a channel to communicate with people. Quote, as long as there is a beginning, more and more people will accept us. The day when peace comes will definitely not be far away. After Anil said it, she also knew that the biggest use of marriage is to enhance the level of trust between the two parties. If there is no such guarantee, then the trust of both parties will be greatly reduced. But with money, wouldn't everyone be able to live better? Bai Xing cried. After a long silence, she made up her mind and said, let me marry him. Everyone looked at Bai Xing in astonishment. White Star, you don't have to force yourself, we will always find a way. I didn't force it, I don't hate that person. It's just I'm just a little scared. I'm worried that I'll never see my father, my mother, and my brothers again in the future. Wow, Bai Xing cried. Obahime felt Shirahoshi's heart. Although it was a little reluctant, it wasn't that she was against marrying Enel. Bai Xing was really worried that he would never see Fishman Island again when he went to the human world. Now Bai Xing is just a child and has no concept of love at all. Enel did not arouse her disgust, so she was not very opposed to the marriage. Moreover, this can help everyone on Fishman Island. This is also the purpose of Enel to leave them in the meeting. Bai Xing is very kind kind enough to be willing to sacrifice himself for others. If Bai Xing was allowed to sit in, then she would most likely agree to marry him for the sake of Mermaid Island. Now, his bad intentions have succeeded. Wow, what a mother's good child. After feeling that Shi Xing didn't have too much reluctance, Otoji did not refuse. Oh, my white star. Nidin also cried. We miss you, Shirahoshi. The three princes of the mermaid also cried. It's as if you're about to die. Jinbei opened the door and walked in. He was originally here to report the healing situation of the Tianlong people. It's a little embarrassing to see this family cry together here. After understanding the truth of the matter, he said, what an amazing princess. However, I heard that human nobles get married. Usually, they get engaged when they are young and don't get married until they are adults. In other words, Princess Baxing can still live and I have lived on Fishman Island for 10 years. Besides, when the trade routes are opened, it will be very convenient to travel. Quote. Really, that's great. It's really great that you don't have to be separated from your mother right away. Bai Xing burst into tears. Chapter 219 My friend. 5 days later, a small boat was rippling on the undulating sea. Here is the Ling side of the Laterite continent. The sea area where the 4 emperors are King New World. Saint Muse Garrett opened his eyes and saw the iron-gray ceiling. It feels a little bumpy and occasionally crunching. He realized he was on a boat. After the Draco survived initial treatment, Ano moved him to his ship. Iceberg's boat is several times larger than the kind used by Enel 6 years ago, so it can accommodate more people. Enel didn't want to waste time waiting for the Draco to recover. So take him to his destination this time. Also accompanied by Otahime and Aladdin. Otahime is to go to Marihoa with the Tenryu, and Aladdin is to save the life of Saint Garrett, the Muse. Someone, I'm starving, get me something to eat. He yelled as soon as he woke up. Enel came in with a plate of fruit and meat. You are awake, Saint Muse Garrett. He had already contacted Doflamingo, and then found the name of this rash Draco. You are the pariah who saved me, right? You did a good job, I will reward you well when I go back. He picked up a piece of fruit and ate it. Ano bowed his head, and the veins on his forehead burst out. Pariah. Sure enough, dogs can't stop eating shit. Do you want me to kill you? Forget it, just bear with it. I just protected you from the mob from the beginning. The one who treated you was Princess Otahime and a Murloc doctor. Murloc, wait, did they give me a blood transfusion? I don't want the blood of those filthy fish flowing in my body. Asshole, how can I accept the blood of those fish when I go back? I can't lift my head up with laughter. Saint Muse Garrett looked at his body in a panic. Enel said, because the Murlocs are not allowed to give blood to humans, so my blood is used. It just so happens that we are the same blood type. Ah, that's not untouchable blood. Damn it. Actually, I am a descendant of a royal family. When my father was a prince, the country was usurped by despicable means. So this should meet the requirements. Once the Tianlong people need blood transfusion, they will not use the blood of ordinary people because they have high self-esteem for blood. As for letting the other dragons bleed, how can it be? They are afraid of pain. Not even for another celestial dragon. So they are generally replaced with the rest of the noble blood. Huh, are you a royal family? Saint Muse Garrett's face became a little better. Yes, I'm going to take back my country now. Let those clowns chatter for too long. Shouldn't it be my master's duty to teach them how to be revered? Hum. Wait, are we heading to Marijoya now? Turn me around, I'm going back. I'm going back to Marijoya. He was horrified by this encounter. The sea is so scary, I want to go home. Don't you feel ashamed? You said you were going to snatch the slaves back, but none of them were caught. Those bastards, sooner or later, I will show them a good look. Actually trying to do something to me as a world noble. Muse Garrett felt angry when he said the slave. Don't be impatient, I have taught them a lesson, and now they should have sunk into the depths of the sea. Anal is an honest good boy, he doesn't lie. How can Fishman Island be considered deep in the sea? There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, are you dead? It's okay to be dead. You did a good job. Hearing Anal say this, Muse Garrett thought they had been killed and thrown to the bottom of the sea. Saint Muse Garrett, come to my country as a guest. I will prepare a few pirates with a reward of tens of millions as slaves for you. Their strength is much stronger than the average Murloc. Ah yes, that's great. You're not an ordinary pariah, and you saved my life. I'll allow you to be my friend in particular. Be honored, my friend. It's really my honor, my friend. You still need to rest, so I won't disturb you. Anal went out. Friend, this is an unexpected bonus. Anal came to the deck and saw Otahime staring at the sky alone. She opened her arms and felt the oncoming sea breeze. What a vast sky it is. What a beautiful sunshine it is. Where's Aladdin? Anal asked. Otoji replied. He said that the situation has stabilized and he doesn't want to see Tianlong people again, so he went back first. Otahime's tone was a bit heavy, and from this you can see the general attitude of the fish people towards humans. Alienation and indifference. That guy has woken up, you can go and have a good chat with him. Anal pointed in the direction of the dragon man. Why do you want to save him? I can clearly feel your disgust and rejection of him. Otoji asked. Anal only had one word in his heart, it's really troublesome to listen to all things. Sure enough, there should be a chance to kill her. He had this kind of thought all his life, and Otoji felt a huge malice enveloped him, and his face changed. Don't pry into my heart casually, I can't help but want to kill you. Why do you still smile when you hate it? Because this is politics. Or rather, compromise. Anal's disgust for Otahime was even more than that of the Tianlong people, and it was not good to feel that his heart was known to others. It's really a fish brain, why are you shouting around with this ability? It's enough that she knows it, which can provide a lot of convenience for her to do things. And speaking out so blatantly will only lead to disgust and vigilance from others, and no one wants their own to be peeped. Anal was worried about Otahime's ability to guard against the discovery of her intentions against Shirahoshi. On the other hand, Otohi thought that it was because she peeped into Anal's heart and made him unhappy, so she had such a strong killing intent towards her. Damn it, lend me another 50 million, no, lend me 100 million. Muse Garrett's voice came from the cabin. Anal went in and saw that he was playing cards with Roy and Carter. They used gold coins as a bargaining chip. Carter had a high pile in front of him, while Muse Garrett was empty. Sailing on the sea is boring, and the Muse Garrett lying on the hospital bed is even more boring. So called Carter to spend time with him. Then they start playing cards. How can you play poker without a bet? So Muse Garrett was tragic. Don't you know that Carter and Roy are a couple? Carter looked at him with small eyes, as if to say that I can lie to you 8 times with your IQ. It has partnered with Roy and has already 50 million won Baileys from Muse Garrett. Of course, it's an IOU. But the Tianlong people will not default on their debts for this money. Carter has great communication skills. He soon became one with Muse Garrett. It has deliberately lost a lot of games, and it can only play happily if it comes and goes. Anal always felt that these two goods could go hand in hand and be called brothers. Chapter 220 Verslow. At the entrance to the New World, near Darerosa, there is a small island called Verslau. It's a remote island nation on a different route from Dressrosa. Verslow has a special terrain. It is high on all sides, with cliffs on 3 sides, but the middle is lower than sea level, so once the tide is high, or the storm comes, the sea water will pour into the island along the gap on that side of the cliff, submerging half of the island. When the tide recedes, the sea water in the middle of the island will flow into the ground from the gaps in the soft sand. All kinds of seafood brought up by seawater are left behind. Although the economy is not developed, there is never a shortage of food. Fishing is the pillar industry of Verslow. The sea of the New World is terrifying, and there are countless beasts in the sea, so Verslow also developed the custom of martial arts. The rulers here are the Lafowater family, which has been passed down from generation to generation. The people on the island live a simple and peaceful life. Generally pirates are disdained to patronize here. Around Verslow, there are various reefs that are very dangerous for ships. The poverty of the island and the good military force of the people here make the pirates who pass through Verslow have little lust for this hard bone with little meat. Time to more than 20 years ago. The last king of Verslow, Darcy Lethwart, Egnal's grandfather, doesn't know what's going on in his head. It actually cost a lot of money to issue an order and build 10 large ships. Then he took his troops and drove to the second half of the New World in a mighty manner. What to say to conquer the sea? The result never came back. The king fell to young Wenris. But Wenris is also a brainless guy. He has no interest in the throne. All government affairs are left to the minister to handle. He built a boat himself, and went into business with his escort in high spirits. He has been defeated and defeated again and again, and he has never lost money. This has placed a huge burden on the already difficult state finances. So, the riot happened. The leader of the riot was the Minister of Finance, who was entrusted with important tasks by Wenris. The captain of the guard, Art, escaped from Verslow with Wenris. The original minister, because of the prestige of guiding the people, became the new king. At first I read this information Doflamingo gave him. Aenol's first reaction was that the people of the Lafowater family were all scumbags. No, it should be said that they are all cheats except themselves. The special one is to run to the second half of the New World without one's own means, and the other is to leave a good king to do business. No wonder Wenris was able to do such a thing as selling devil fruits for money. He's completely insane. In order to hurry, Enel used his ability to speed up the journey. And Verslow is not far from Fishman Island, so it only took more than a day to see Verslow from a distance. At this time, Muse Garrett had owed Carter a huge debt of 500 million Bailey. But he showed no anger at all, and asked Carter how to play cards. Roy acts as a translator. Muse Garrett felt that after listening to Carter's teaching, he felt that his gambling skills had improved a lot, and he planned to go back to make the little friends who usually play with him look good. However, this was just his delusion. The corners of Enel's mouth twitched as he witnessed everything. Carter was just fooling him. It and Roy combined to cheat him. Of course he would lose. As this land, Otoji, who was standing on the deck, exclaimed. What appeared in front of her was a C-shaped island. At this time, when the tide was high, the north corner was already submerged. The sea water poured into the interior of the island in a mighty manner, and the ship was also affected, and was carried by the current and rushed towards the island. Enel was too lazy to come up with a new name, so the ship is still called the Eulogy. Although it was not in the shape of a coffin, he felt that it was a little impersonal, but in general the overall atmosphere was not much different from the original ship. The boat was bumpy, and Roy fell off the stool without standing still. The head hit the table. It hurts. It was tearful. Muse Garrett clung to the edge of the bed, and then shouted, My friend, what happened? You have to ensure the safety of this young master. Don't worry, Saint Muse Garrett, we just encountered a strange current. Don't worry, you are safe inside, don't hit the wall. I need to control the direction of the ship outside. What Enel said was pure nonsense. He was just accelerating, accelerating, accelerating. There was no intention of trying to stabilize the boat at all. As for Muse Garrett, don't worry, he won't die anyway. Enel directly drove the ode to the island and rushed into the interior of the island. He didn't mean to hide it, so he rushed in so openly. He has confidence in his own strength. A remote island, there is no need to be too cautious. A monster of the level of a general is not something you can encounter casually. The water swept over the high ground on the coast, then swept away toward the low-lying interior. The backwaters form a waterfall-like landscape. Below the waterfall, there are huge fishing nets. The inhabitants here make good use of the terrain, catches large numbers of fish with ease. In the center of the island is a dense forest. These trees have adapted to the environment here, and can survive even if the seawater is submerged to the waist of the tree. Wooden houses are built on trees, and small flat bridges connect the big trees, all the way to the highlands in the very center of the island. There is where the palace is located, which is higher than the sea and will not be submerged by the backwater. Ordinary people here live in trees. Odahime felt that this was simply an island tailored for their mermaid. In a complex environment, there is water everywhere, and if there is any danger, you can jump into the sea and escape immediately. But she ignored the food issue. Murlocs generally do not eat fish and meat. And here, it is precisely the rich marine resources that support the entire island of 1 million people. It would be difficult to feed 100,000 people just from the fruits and vegetables that grow on that barren land. They have passed through the area of rapid currents and came to the stable area. Saint Muse Garrett walked out on crutches. I'm suffocating all day in such a small room. He scanned the surroundings, looked at the buildings on the trees, and said, My friend, this is your country. It's so funny. People actually live in the trees, like monkeys. Ha 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 ha. Agnel said, There don't seem to be monkeys here. I've never seen one of those creatures. Did Mary Joa have them? Mary Joa, yes. If you are interested, come to my house and I will show you. There are a lot of monkeys. Carter. Roy looked at Saint Muse Garrett with eyes like monkeys. Odahime understood Anel's attitude towards the Tianlong people, and it was far less respectful than he had shown.